Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. Today I have my buddy Stu from the UK. And you said Southampton's, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm really good. Glad to be here. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
taking a bit of time to get together, isn't it? So happy to
exactly.
be here.
I'm glad to finally have you on because I know we've been wanting to talk about what we're going to talk about quite some time now. And, just the last 2, 3 months, we've been trying. Your schedule's different, my schedule, and then the time zone difference. But
Yeah,
we finally made it happen. And it's
we've done
awesome
it.
to have you on. What time is it there? What, 4 or 5?
Yeah, just almost 4 o'clock here. So yeah, just in the afternoon now.
I was telling Stu how much I admire his little background there with all the different vinyls and look, we
Yeah,
got New Jersey box set there, the Prayer single, 2020 vinyl. We got Bad Names single, Blaze of Glory. Look, I'm just doing a whole layout here of
yeah,
everything. You got. That's the I Believe at the end, right?
that's it. Yes, the
Yeah,
single. Yeah.
that's awesome. I love that band photo there. But anyway, so I always ask, how did you become a Bon Jovi fan?
Oh, Jerry, it would have been 1986, and I'd have been 12 years
Oh,
old, and
sick.
it would have been prayer. It was massive in the UK. I kind of I didn't note this down earlier on, but it I think prayer was number 4 in the charts over here, and Europe had number 1 with Final Countdown. So those two songs for the whole month were sort of vying for the number 1 spot, and they're both huge sort of rock anthems. So I think the popularity of Bon Jovi they were just bouncing off each other at that time, and we had all sorts of music shows over here. Top of the Pops was a big one. Bon Jovi were live on there with Prayer. They were new, they were fresh. It was a powerful anthem. My brother's 3 years older than me, and he was just starting work, and he had the money to buy the album Slippery, and he was playing that just constantly. So I picked up on other songs from it, but Prayer was my first single I purchased, so
Wow, that's
it was the
awesome.
first song, yeah. And
And
it's there.
just
There it is. That's the one.
and you buy it in '86.
That's right, yeah.
Man, that's awesome. I say this all the time. I wasn't born until '92, and I didn't become a fan until 2000. With Crush. So I always say
Yeah,
to the older fans who got to experience the '80s, whether it was from '83 and seeing the band grow, or just started when the band was successful in '86, and just being able to experience the Slippery era and the New Jersey era. When the band was truly the biggest band in the world, hands down, the biggest band.
yeah.
So that must have been phenomenal for you. Did you see them on the Slippery New Jersey tours?
I didn't see them until '96, which was Milton Keynes on the These Days tour.
Oh
It was the
man,
first
that
time.
was incredible. I always said the Milton Keynes shows are always incredible. No matter what tour, it's always
Yeah.
amazing. So, what's your favorite Bon Jovi song?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this. I've seen these before, and it's so tough. It's so difficult. I, like you have said, Bon Jovi have sort of helped me through so many different periods of my life, and there's so many different songs that kind of resonate. But I think see the late '80s when New Jersey came out, we were listening to that album back to back with Alice Cooper's Trash as well, and
Oh,
obviously some similarities in some of the songwriting and production and stuff. But I kind of you know probably Blood on Blood is a song that sort of stuck with me, and the togetherness, the friendship that song has. I think to this day, when I hear that song live, I still love that one.
yeah, it's
So
good.
it's tough. It's a tough pick one song. It's really tough, but I think that one still stays with me.
Yeah, I guess it's better to ask if you're stranded on an island and you can only have one Bon Jovi song to ever listen to. It'd be Blood on Blood.
Yeah, I think so. It's got a bit of everything, isn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, before we get into our topic, I want to do a special message for everyone that's listening. This is you are my 100th episode, and I
Wow.
cannot believe I'm at 100 episodes already. I started this, in spring of 2020 during the pandemic, and the idea of it was just two Bon Jovi fans who absolutely love this band just getting on and having a chat about this topic or that topic and just sharing the love that we had for this band. And the pandemic ended, and I kept it going, and I'm so glad I have, because I enjoy being able to talk with you and other diehard fans, and just kind of being able to share our love for the band. So anyway, obviously this podcast is going to continue. I have some great things planned for 2024. But the next episode, I'm still working out details and everything. But what I want to do, probably in early December, is I want to do a special live, probably on YouTube, where I do a special live and people can come on. They can either comment, or if they want to join video, they can, and just kind of come on and talk about a certain subject, or and then for a few minutes, and then go to the next person and talk a few minutes about this topic. Probably do that for a half hour, and then the last half hour, I've been going through. I have a huge Bon Jovi collection, and I've been going through stuff, going through totes, and I'm gonna do some special giveaways as a thank you for people who've supported this podcast, from sharing, listening, streaming, blah blah blah, and just kind of showing my appreciation. So I'm gonna do a lot of giveaways. I have some signed Bon Jovi stuff that I'm gonna give away, that's been signed from the band. I'm gonna give away shirts, just different things. And I'm really excited. I just wanted to kind of show my appreciation for everyone that's took the time to listen. So thank you. And so anyway, let's get into our topic. We are going to talk about the London O2 residency in 2010. It's been a while since I've seen these shows. I spent the last 3-4 hours in preparation of this episode. I spent the last 3-4 hours just watching different nights, and just incredible shows. And I really wish I could have seen those shows back then. But I know you said you went to the last night, correct?
Yeah, the final night of the
Yeah.
residency. Yeah,
So we'll definitely talk about that. So what I thought we could do was just kind of, we'll talk about the rooftop performance first, which was iconic for the band. And then we'll go through, obviously everyone that's listening, we're not going to go through every single night, going through the entire set list, because we would be here all day. Now I could do it, but I think a lot of people lose interest after a while,
yeah,
and we'd be repetitive. So what we're going to do is just kind of talk about the highlights of each night, stuff that we enjoyed from the specific shows. So let's start off with the rooftop. Well, before we get to the rooftop, let's talk about the London O2 in general. So Stu, I'll let you talk, because I know you told me about it, how they opened it up in
yeah.
2008. I'll let you talk about that.
Well, I think this 100th episode's really fitting, because the O2 in London was the Millennium Dome, so it was built to celebrate that 100-year time period coming into 2000, and then looking in true Bon Jovi song title, the next 100 years, basically. So the original purpose for the Millennium Dome was an exhibition of the start of the 21st century. So it kind of opened for a year for visitors all around the world to come and experience. I think once that ended, I think it was kind of a little bit unsure as to what to do with that venue. And there were murmurings of it being music and entertainment. And ultimately, it's become the second largest indoor arena in the UK. I think around sort of 20,000 people for the music concerts there. Manchester has a few hundred more seats, but it's the second largest indoor arena in the UK. And of course, Bon Jovi sadly couldn't open Wembley, the new Wembley Stadium in 2006. There was a building delay on that, so the shows were shifted to Milton Keynes, and Bon Jovi were given the opportunity to open the O2 as a music venue in 2007. And I was there at that show as well. So I think the band have got a bit of history with it. I think London's a very important city to the band. Some great shows over the years there. I mean, the O2 has just become like an iconic music venue now. I mean, everyone's played there. The original sort of those Michael Jackson shows would have taken place there had he not passed the residency that he would have had. So it just feels like whenever you go to that venue now, there's just so much kind of history there already.
It is my goal to go there next year. I'll always say Wembley '95 was probably the best Bon Jovi shows ever.
Wow,
and
yeah,
I would have given to have been able to go to those shows. Um, but next year, I definitely want to see them in London, whether it's at the O2 or Wembley, wherever. I
yeah,
just say I've seen Bon Jovi in London, you know. Um, so I know we'll get into night 10 here a little bit later, but so you saw them in 2007 at the
yeah.
at the O2, and then you saw them the last time. How would you compare both performances?
I mean,
I know
the
that's a hard question, but
yeah, well, the opening Lost Highway had just been released, and they weren't officially on tour in the UK, so it was a special show in that sense. I mean, it was fun. The sound quality was incredible. Obviously, for anyone going, it was a brand new venue, so the excitement level was really high there. I would say the performance was sort of professional. I think you, it felt like they just kind of wanted to do everything brilliantly and didn't want to let anyone down. It was the opening of a new venue, so the sound mix was great. I think they played it perhaps a little safe with the set list, but there would have been a lot of casual fans there. I think it was Richie's first show after coming out of rehab. I think he was in rehab 3 weeks prior,
yep.
so I can remember John sort of making after 2 or 3 songs in, he kind of said, "Look, I've got my wingman back, or I've got Richie's back," or there was something Scott kind of said. And I must admit, I was a little worried that he might not be there when I kind of travelled to London. Um, and I guess the difference on the last night of the residency, man, they were just so relaxed and so kind of like it was like a real sort of carnival party atmosphere. It was
Yeah.
just
It's
I've never experienced anything like it. Because even I've saw Bon Jovi sort of at Wembley in 2000 on those the last two shows at Wembley, but I think because they've been there for 3 weeks, by night 12 it was just like they were so sort of just it just sort of clicked, and everyone looked like they're having a ball. There was no pressure. They were just playing. They were having fun. It just felt really sort of loose and really, yeah. I don't know. I think it did feel different in that way.
yeah. See, the sense that I got from watching the last night, I watched the last night a lot of it, and I just got that appreciative kind of manner from them,
Yeah,
especially the encore, which we'll get into. But yeah, let's get into the rooftop performance. Did you go?
yeah. No, I didn't. That was we saw that on a couple of news stations over here. They had that, and I think over a couple of nights, there were 4 songs on the rooftop. Apart from sort of old footage of like the Beatles doing something like that, which I remember I could find on YouTube. I've not seen many bands do something like this to launch like the Residency. It's quite a long way up to the O2 roof.
Yeah.
You can walk that. You can pay to sort of walk across the O2 roof. It's worth doing.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, and you've got you have to have a harness, and there's cables that sort of take you over and stuff. And if you do visit it, you should do it, because
Yeah.
obviously and I did it because obviously that's where Bon Jovi kind of were, and they did
Yeah.
that.
It is does the arena kind of go into the ground then? I'm assuming, because looking at pictures and the videos of them doing the rooftop performance, you can kind of see that it does kind of sit low and then the roof slopes, you know.
Yeah,
So
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's again, I sort of wrote this down. It's the ninth largest building in the world, the O2.
damn,
It's
I didn't know.
incredible. Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't. It's absolutely huge. So I guess it's. I don't know what the height is at its central point, but the arena is right in the middle of that dome
Okay.
at its highest point, and I think it does go. It does sort of step down at the lower level inside. But as you walk in there, you've got bars and restaurants that circle the arena. There's a cinema complex in there. Obviously, all the merchandise and everything. I mean, it's difficult to. It's so huge, and there's like even just outside of the O2, you've got a whole kind of O2 village, again, bars and restaurants and shops and everything that go
Yeah.
with it. So it's kind of like a day event. It's, you can get there sort of late morning and spend the entire day there, and then sort of drift into the arena. It's
Wow,
yeah,
that's
it's quite a,
yeah, that's awesome. And I've heard that the acoustic and the sound system inside of that arena is phenomenal and one of the best venues in the UK.
yeah, it definitely is. I saw Iron Maiden there a couple of months ago, so quite
Yeah,
a diverse rock and metal taste. But yeah, I think whichever the music style is and type of band, I think I've never come away from the O2 thinking the sound quality is poor. It generally is mixed very well in there.
yeah, absolutely.
And designed specifically for live music. So yeah, I think it
Yeah,
does hold up really well.
absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
so the rooftop performance, I remember it was, I believe it was live streamed or it was recorded and later
Yeah.
streamed on the band's website because I remember being at my grandmother's house and waiting for it to come on. And I do remember watching some sort of live stream of it. And I remember, they started, they did it as, I think it was a news anchor, correct? Did it like
Yes.
so before I get into this, I guess, so they had the band on the rooftop, and we've seen photos since from David Bergman that took photos of the band going up, in harnesses and stuff
Yeah,
like a
that's
little
it.
bit ago, which some really cool photos. But there are fans that were on the ground level watching this rooftop performance on the screen,
Yeah.
and so they had a news anchor to introduce the band, and then what I really loved about John was that you see him practicing a little bit before, and you see Hugh coming over to Richie and trying to ask him a couple questions, but then you see John being playful and coming up behind the news anchor, putting up bunny
Yeah.
ears and so it's kind of see. I think John, just watching the shows, watching the rooftop, John seems so happy to be there and appreciative and just, I think, just really enjoyed it. And
I think yeah. I think that came across in the performances when you said you've revisited the footage from those nights. And yeah, I think that comes across in the performance. I think they were just it's so different, isn't it? Like I say, from I guess different hotel every night and the travel and country to country to country. And I guess there are some cities and some countries that mean more. But I think just being based in London for sort of 3 weeks and I think they could just relax into it, and I think you could just see
yeah.
that in that opening newsreel, and like I say, there was that sort of playful energy and togetherness with the band.
Well,
And man, they were on the like you said, when you picked it up in 2000. I mean, this is 2010, so they've had a decade of like almost like renewed success, a whole new generation of fans. And I think they're just in such a good place around this time period.
yeah, absolutely. And another thing too about this whole O2 residency is that it was kind of in the middle of the Circle tour.
Yeah,
Because the Circle tour started in February of 2010. The O2 residency wasn't until June of 2010. So I think also too, they were traveling, those 4 months, and then the residency they were kind of just stayed put for the month because they did 12 nights in June. And I know that there was like a
yeah,
Paris show in between those shows.
that's it.
I think it was kind of nice for them to not have to travel for a month and just kind of stay put and so they did 4 songs on the rooftop. We weren't born to follow, Superman tonight, You Do Love a Bad Name, It's My Life, all iconic performances. But I think like the little special thing that I really liked about it was the intro to Bad Name, and just the way that John sang those, shot through the heart in your tube, like, the way the band comes in. I just thought that was so cool. Like even when I was back in 2010 watching that live stream, I was impressed with it then. And rewatching it this morning, I was like, damn, I don't know. I just, something about that small section just kind of really impresses me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those things that a band that have been around as long as Bon Jovi have, even
Yeah.
back in 2010. I mean, there are a lot of bands that would just see this as a bit of press, a bit of marketing, a bit of a quick win to just get on air with these songs, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like a proper performance. It felt like it was, a lot of energy in there, and it meant something to the band. So yeah, it wasn't just like a token gesture.
Yeah.
It was a proper little performance, to be honest. That's
Yeah.
what it kind of felt like. And when you rewatch it now, yeah, I think there was a good amount of energy in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Good effort in the vocal. Yeah, I think it was strong. It's good.
Absolutely.
It's always good to hear. So I like Superman Tonight. I think that's a great track. Not one that's played that often now. And but yeah, I think because of the more kind of recent albums, I really enjoy that song. So it's always nice to hear that.
Yeah, and then John does an interview, a small 2-minute interview at the end of those performances and stuff, and kind of, talks about his appreciation for London and kind of what you talked about a little bit ago about the Millennium Dome and whatever. And then he also says they mixed some of the Circle in London, and
Yeah,
I forgot about that. And when I was rewatching that this morning, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they did mix some of it in London, and so that was kind of cool. A couple other notes about this residency before we get into each night. I personally would love to see, and I was thinking about it all this morning. I would love to see another residency of the band.
yeah,
Even if that's what they were to do next year, I think that'd be so cool. Just to do residency here, do a residency there, and have fans just come. And I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. Um, and I believe I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that London, the O2 residencies, was the first time they started to play This Is Our House before the show started. Because they did it heavily in 2011, but in
yeah.
2010 on the first
Yeah,
North American.
yeah, I remember it. Yeah, when they played it on the final night, they kind of have sort of Bon Jovi in the circle and all these kind of messages kind of revolving around the three different seating areas of the O2, and you kind of that the lights go down. These messages all go around Bon Jovi in the circle and kind of all these, and then you can hear that track as it's building up.
Yeah,
I love that part. I love that part of the show when the lights go down. You just that sort of
that build up.
moment. Oh,
Yeah,
just incredible.
and
This Bon Jovi do this part. This that stage. That part of it is just always incredible.
yeah, it adds that build up and
Oh,
excitement.
yeah,
So they did 12 nights at this residency, June
yeah,
2010. A lot of deep cuts. This entire Circle tour was just probably the best tour with set list they've ever done. There's a lot of deep cuts in the entire tour. And I remember in interviews, John said that his goal, and he even says it during a few speeches on the O2 shows, his goal was to play at least 75 total songs, changing up every night and blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And I think he was just a little shy of that goal, but it was still cool. You look at the set list of each night, and there's so many deep cuts here and deep cuts there. We'll get into that.
yeah.
And then a couple of openers was One Republic and Kid Rock. Was that it? Was there another one? I think that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Kid Rock online, but yeah, I think from memory, they were the two across those 12 nights. But both, I think, both decent openers. To be honest, I think they're
Yeah,
both did good jobs.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Especially Kid Rock. I think he really did good on that tour with them.
yeah,
So let's get into night one. Maybe let's go back and forth. Like I said earlier, for people that are listening, we're not going to go through the entire set list song by song. We're just going to go through some of our highlights, mine, Stu's. So one thing that, and I don't want to sound like a complainer here because they're both good openers, but I know the Circle Tour saw a lot of different opening songs, different set lists, but I noticed how the O2 was kind of the same intro every night, whether it was Blood on Blood, Last Man Standing, or Happy Now. It was always the same, those three
yeah,
opening songs. I wish that kind of would have, if I was at the show every night, I would have hoped it would have changed every night. But I ain't complaining, and I know you love Blood on.
yeah. I,
So
I was surprised we didn't get sort of a prayer and a bad name 1-2 kind of opening the show. And yeah, I mean, lay hands on me and other. I mean, they could have. Again, we'll come into it. But I mean, one of these one of these shows they played Let It Rock, and you think that could have opened one of the shows. There's
David
just
Pink
this
Flamingos, yeah.
and I think, but then like I say, looking back on it now and looking at the songs they did, I mean, man, it's just so. And I think that's what the Residency does, is that there's an opportunity just to do something a bit different. And so Sam Bora was quoted on saying that when this first started, and it was just I think that was the appeal. I think John says it's this is great. This is something we don't do. This is like a vacation. This is like us being in one place for 3 weeks and people coming to see us. And Richie was the same mindset. It's like, this is just, this is different. It gives us a chance to express ourselves differently. So yeah, I guess, across 12 nights, 3 different openers, we're being a bit picky here, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I know I'm a little picky there, and I still think they're phenomenal songs to open up with. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
me as a diehard fan. If
I
I
agree.
was to go to all 12 nights, and I know I know most people that are going to these nights are only going to 1 or 2 shows, but then the
Yeah.
diehards like me or you would probably go to all 12 and would be like, please do a different opener, please do a different opener.
Yeah.
But
I think
I
you're
don't
right.
I'll let you go first because I know Blood and Blood's your favorite song. Did you have any kind of things you want to say about it on night one? I had a couple notes. I don't have any notes for the other.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the two I picked. I mean, I think on night one, I still look back at Love's the Only Rule. I really enjoy. I like the way that song's fleshed out a bit more as well, so I enjoy that one. I think they did Something for the Pain acoustic.
Mhm.
Again, Something for the Pain hadn't been. I don't think that's been done live since '96. So
Time in 2003.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, I think for me, it's a rarity to come into the set. Acoustic's always a bit different, and I think I wasn't sure whether we'd see a breakdown from electric to like a 1 or 2 song acoustic set in the middle. I think that can always be, that can always sort of just be a bit different and a bit special in the show. So I think those 2 songs for me stuck out. Yeah, I like Blood on Blood. I love that track.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you see something a bit different, acoustic version of Something for the Pain, I do enjoy Love's the Only Rule, so I picked that one out as
Yeah.
well from the first night.
I have that in here as well. I'll start off with Blood. As I know I was complaining about it, but at the same time, too, I think it was the perfect song to start the residency. Because
Yeah,
the song about brotherhood, as you and I both know, it's a great opening song. And what I really like about that performance I was watching this morning is, after the guitar solo and when, they're all starting to da, 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 and, John's facing the crowd in the back and
yeah,
facing Zico. And, and then, they start slowing it down a little bit before, Dan's a medicine man and all those lines. I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, definitely.
Um, Bad Medicine. I think it was probably probably the second best performance of that song of the residency. I think Richie was just phenomenal on the guitar that night with Bad Medicine. He kind of stood out more. I think. I don't know if it was just an audio thing that they didn't tone down a little bit, but you could hear Richie more on guitar from
Yeah,
Bad Medicine versus the other nights, which most people wouldn't realize that, but I did.
yeah,
And then they did a cover of Roadhouse Blues, Doors cover,
yeah,
which is kind of cool. And you and I both know that over the years when they do Bad Medicine, they're always throwing in a different cover or something, jukebox time as they
that's
call
it.
it, which we haven't seen in recent years. And then you said Love's the Only Rule, which I absolutely love that one. I think it's phenomenal. And I just love how, John goes through the crowd and, sings to everybody. And, that,
Yeah,
then how it builds right back up before the final chorus. And John just kind of is so energetic and he just goes.
yeah.
It's just incredible. I got to itch my nose for once. I'm sorry. I had an itchy nose for some reason. Um,
That's all right. I'm still getting over that cold, Joe, from like about kind of a month ago, I think it was. So
it's just
it's fine. It's just
Yeah, my I'm in my upstairs office, and it's just the air is dry because of the change
Yeah,
of season. But and then lay your hands on me. So we'll talk about. Well, I guess we can talk about it now. So Richie does most of. There's only one night that John does the vocals of lay your
yeah,
hands, on Me, and I believe they do it every night. But Richie does 11 out of the 12 um, vocals on lay your hands on me, and I, I'm just being picky here. But I wish Richie would have kind of been able to sing different stuff too. So he would do it before this. So the way the band did this tour was they would do about 12, 15 songs, different songs, and then John would go down backstage and be able to
yeah,
change. While he was doing that, Richie would sing a cover, and then John would come out to the circle stage and would do a couple acoustic songs, and the band would come out, and then they'd go. That'd be about 3 or 4 or 5 songs. Then they'd go to the main stage again and do another 10, 15 songs or 10 songs and finish the show. So a lot of the times on the O2 residency was that Richie would sing Lay Your Hands on Me before the acoustic set.
yeah.
And absolutely love it. I love seeing Richie sing it. He has so much drive, and just the way that he plays guitar is just phenomenal on that song. And he really kept the crowd hyped up because when John leaves, like, okay, fans are like, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, Richie's singing a song. And obviously the diehards love it, but in the general audience point of view, they're like, well, where's John? Why is Richie singing?
Yeah,
And I think once Richie gets started, the fans are like, fuck, this is good. You know,
yeah, yeah,
and obviously, like I said, diehards like you and me just absolutely love that. You know, um, and I think just the way that Richie played guitar on that song is just phenomenal. And I think it's a great song for Richie to be able to play and
I
keep the
think it
crowd
was.
engaged.
Does he do? He did Homebound Train on one of the nights, I think, or yeah. But I
Yeah, that
think,
was
yeah, I
which
think, yeah. Lay Hands on Me came across really well. But yeah, I guess if you're looking for a bit of diversity through the 12 nights,
and
would we
that's
have?
yeah,
It's
and
harsh, but yeah, but it's
yeah.
we wanted, could he have gone back into, I'll Be There For You? Could he have sung Stranger in This Town? Could he have just brought a different song out every night, or
Yeah,
rotated sort of 3 or 4 different songs across that time period?
yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
oh, go ahead. That's the hard thing to do is like I said, with Lay Your Hands on Me, that keeps the crowd engaged, especially like the
Yeah,
general audience. That keeps the crowd engaged because they know Lay Your Hands on Me, but they don't know Lay Your Hands on Me. They don't, and when you're doing I'll Be There For You, so they did I'll Be There For You a lot during the acoustic set.
yeah,
And so, and plus, I think with that time slot where he does Lay Your Hands on Me, I think you need something, energetic and
yeah.
fun. And, I don't know. And so because it'd be kind of weird to do a ballad like I'll Be There For You and then go to an acoustic set. But they could have done
Yeah,
it one night at least. But like you said, they did Homebound Train eventually. And I think that was a good change of pace, and we'll get into that.
I think Richie did "I'll Be There For You" quite a few times on previous tours as well, didn't he? So I think,
Oh yeah.
he's probably done that, to be honest. But yeah,
Um,
Lay Hands was good.
yeah. And then after Lay Your Hands on Me, John comes out to the circle and does a cover of Hallelujah, which we all know as fans,
Yeah.
he does an incredible cover of. And this is no exception. He does incredible. And then he brings Richie out to do I'll Be There For You. Phenomenal. And then they do something for the pain. And I know we talked about this, like you said, they haven't really played since 1996. In the exception, they did it once or twice on the Bounce tour. So that was kind of cool to see again. And
Yeah,
this, and I remember seeing the set list of this the next morning, and I'm like, why couldn't I have been to London? At this time I was like 17, 18 years old at the time, and I was still just getting out of high school and stuff, and so I didn't really have the means to go to London to see them.
yeah,
But I woke up in the morning, I'm like, oh, they did something for the Pain Acoustic, and I was like just jealous. But I love the way that they, with Richie on the accordion and Tico, what do
yeah,
you call that box he's on? Squeeze box? Is that a squeeze box or?
yeah. I think it is. Yeah, it's just, oh God, it sort of takes me, oh, that's off topic, but oh man, I saw me Milton Keynes in '96. They did a cover of Drift Away. Um,
Ooh,
and Tico came down for that, and the harmonies the band had, just incredible.
yeah,
Absolutely incredible. Just like those little moments. And that's what I mean. You know, that sort of acoustic set. They've done songs in the past, haven't they? Where it's in these arms, and just when the music breaks away, and you just hear the harmonies.
yeah,
I think that's incredible. Again, when that first night was on, and you just sort of see, okay, there's an acoustic set, and actually something for the pain that's different, and you just sort of start seeing kind of some of those acoustic songs change night to night. Yeah, I think that I felt that was a special part of the evening. That sort of was really different. There was some casual fans around me that kind of just wanted a hit. You know, they kind of when it sort of breaks, it's frustrating. You must get this. You know, you're sort of at the show, and for me, you know, some of this is really special stuff. And then there's
yeah,
a couple of people next to you going, "I just want to hear bad medicine. Let's keep the faith." I was like, "Just shut
yeah.
up. Just be quiet. It's just such an." Oh.
Yeah, and every single tour I go through that. Like no matter where I am on the, I always do floor seats. I just think that's a different discussion. I always do floor seats though, and every single time there's always fans near me or around me, and fans like you and me would just choose to see a show just deep cuts. And
Yeah,
when we go to a show and they do a deep cut, you and I we're just ecstatic, excited. We're flipping out with excitement. And then you get something beside you, like, what's this? Like, where's Faith? They're not gonna do bad medicine tonight. Like, they'll get to that. Just
yeah.
let fans like me enjoy
Uh,
this deep cut. But you always get those kind of fans like,
yeah,
what's this? Because they don't know it because it's a deeper song. And that was what was so great about the Circle Tour is that it was a tour that allowed the general fans to see the hits, fans like you and I to see the deep stuff, see songs
yeah,
that have never been played, and then also songs that John's wanted to do for years, especially that first leg when they did stuff from the first two albums.
wow, yeah,
It was short lived, unfortunately, because like I said, we had fans like, what's this?
yeah.
And you're like,
I'd,
songs
I'd,
Jam.
I'd, I'd give anything to see Only Lonely, and
Oh,
some of those tracks. It's just like, man, and I guess they must make a decision based on like the crowd reaction in some ways.
yeah,
Because that's what they feed off of, isn't it? So it's
yeah.
like they'll
Well,
play Only Lonely, and it's just like it hurts me a lot to sort of think that I just why can't I hear that track? But as you say, there's so
well,
many people that probably wouldn't know it, and
yeah. Well, the thing is your crowd, overseas fans are more passionate and
yeah,
know deeper stuff more than the American fans. Especially like, when I say American fans, I'm talking about the general fans that
yeah,
aren't diehards. They only know we live in a don't bore us get to the chorus
yeah, yeah,
country here, and so when they were doing, and it's a shame because the first leg of the tour was in America, and a lot of people didn't know Only Lonely or The Price of Love or Let It Rock. People know Let It Rock because it's from Slippery, which is a huge album. But and I think that's what kind of ruined it for the rest of the tour, um, because fans like America
yeah,
were like, "What's this? What's this?" Like, "Oh, I don't know that album," and then like fans, like me were like, "Yes." But it's a shame that when they went to London just a few months later after the tour kickoff of this tour,
yeah,
they stopped doing it because the only song that they did from the first two albums on this O2 Residency was Runaway, and they do that all the time. I know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a shame that they didn't even throw just one in there like Only Lonely or stuff like that. But so the only thing I've left to say about the first night was "Work for the Working Man." That's I have a love hate relationship with that song.
Oh,
I guess I don't mind it. It's just not one I listen to often. But I thought it was just such an odd place after because it gets played after the circle stage songs. And I think it's such for me, I think you need a song to really get the crowd hyped up again, especially because, some fans don't know something for the pain. So they're just like kind of sitting there twiddling their thumbs. And so you
yeah,
need a song. And last year's perfect proof because when they did the acoustic set last year, a lot of fans didn't know Lower the Flag and American Wrecking and all that. And so they had to come back with a song that everybody knew and got them hyped up, like "I'll Sleep When I'm Dead." And so for this first night, they come back from the acoustic set with "Work for the Working Man." I'm like, that's kind of a, I don't mind it on a set list, but that's like a weird spot to put it. I think,
Was In These Arms on that first night? Did you pick that one out? I couldn't see. I don't think it was, but that would build quite nicely after the
yeah,
acoustic set.
yeah,
Well-known song. It kind of just a bit builds back up.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Anything else?
yeah, yeah. Work for the working man. I don't know. I want to really like the kind of living on a prayer sort of bass line. I kind of want to.
Yeah,
It's sort of it kind of doesn't quite know what it wants to be. I think it's
yeah,
it kind of it feels like it wants to be an anthem, but I'm just not sure. And like I say, it's was it the right position in the set? Maybe not.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough
I,
one. Tough one.
yeah, just odd spot, and I
Yeah.
think, But was there anything else you want to say about night one before we get into night two?
I don't think so. I think actually the set list was if you look at some of the other nights, it was actually quite safe, to be honest. I think there was I'd say a couple of things thrown in there, but actually, especially when you look at some of the stuff in night two. I mean, if I'd gone to night one and thought that if I had a choice of night one and night two, and my choice was I'm going to go to night one, and then I saw the set list from night two, I'd been a bit disappointed.
See,
There was some, I just well, if you introduce night two, because I've written down some songs that I kind of like from that as well. But
okay, yeah. So I guess we'll kind of just do an over, view. Because I kind of go in order of my highlights, and so if I hit
mm,
a song, just chime in here. We'll make
sure,
it work. So they open up with "Last Man Standing" for the second night, and we're
yeah,
so used to John being in the crowd with that song, and he wasn't in the crowd for this. He came up and on the main stage. You have anything you want to say about "Last Man Standing"?
I quite like Last Man Standing. I like the stripped down version they did for that. Was that on?
It was for "This Life Feels Right," but then they put it on the
Yeah, yeah. Sort of Pat Leonard with the production, wasn't it, from memory?
yeah,
But yeah, I quite like the original version of that, and then took a bit of getting used to on Have a Nice Day. But I think I enjoyed it on Have a Nice Day tour as an opener. Like you say, the build up, the way that kind of was sort of driving as an opener. I don't mind that. I don't mind Last Man Standing. I'm happy with that.
yeah.
I can live
I
with John. I can live with John not being in the crowd for it. I don't mind. But yeah, I think as a different opener, it's all right. I can think a lot of casuals probably wouldn't know it. I think, but
yeah, which is kind of, if you look back and see that as that's probably like the most. I don't mean this in a bad way either when I say overused, but it's been the
yeah,
most overused opening song that a lot of fans wouldn't normally know, especially because it's on a
yeah,
later album. Um, so but it's worked for the crowd, especially, and I think to kind of keep that song going as an opener and keeping up the hype is having John in the crowd, you know,
yeah,
and so it's like fans don't really mind it as much because they're like, well, he's right here, middle of the crowd and
yeah,
stuff. So kind of takes away like, well, what's this song? But yeah. Another highlight of this night was "Just Older." I think it was the third or fourth song, and
yeah,
the flow of that second night, I think it was like perfect for "Just Older" to be in there where it was. Um, I don't know why, but Tico's drumming on this is just so good on it. And I love everything's tight, and I don't know. I was watching Tico the entire performance of this song.
I love Just Older. I mean, it's one of my favourites from Crush. And again, I like the sort of the sort of friendship with Richie there. I remember on the Crush tour when they sort of stood shoulder to shoulder singing it, and um, I think it's a really good song. There's elements of Blood on Blood in there, I guess, the way the sort of song breaks down and plays out. I really enjoy that, and I think actually, I know John's had his vocal issues recently, but I think I kind of enjoy out of a lot of the songs from last year's tour. I enjoyed hearing that again. I enjoyed sort of just that song coming back into the
Yeah,
set list again. Yeah, so I think that's a great track.
I got to
Just
see
overall.
it. I got to see it as an opener in Pittsburgh 2011,
Wow. Okay.
and that
Yeah.
was like ooh, they're doing that as an opener. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
I think they should have done that a lot more as an opener, and that would have been cool to see on night two or one of these nights as just older as an opener. But
It's a great
um,
anthem. Great song.
yeah, so I'm gonna fast forward to the circle stage songs because they did Memory. John came out first on the circle stage, doing
Yeah.
Memory, Bed of Roses. Then I think Richie came out for Diamond Ring, and then the whole band came out for Something for the Pain.
Yeah.
And nothing. I know people love Diamond Ring, and I enjoy it. I'm just not crazy about it. Um, but with that being said, we probably should say something about it because it's a huge fan favorite. Um,
Yeah. Again, I think if you're a diehard fan, you kind of know it was originally part of
Jersey,
Sons of Peaches or New Jersey, yeah, way back. So it's a song that's been bouncing around for many years, and I think it probably fits with the mood and the production of these days on that album. It kind of sort of probably does fit in that album.
yeah.
I sort of I like it again. I like the John and Richie vocal harmony of it. I think it'd be a struggle perhaps now. I think it is just those two vocals. Is it the best? Sort of, is it in the top 10? No, to be honest, probably not. But I don't mind listening to it. I don't mind Diamond Ring. I like Make a Memory. I think I
Oh
think
yeah.
that track's really cool. I
Mhm.
remember I remember when Lost Highway first came out, and hearing Make a Memory for the first time, and it was very different for Bon Jovi as a I think it was the lead single from Lost
Yep.
Highway
Yep.
from memory.
Yeah.
From memory.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I really enjoy hearing that.
The
I
memory
could
is
probably
my
like to say probably is Diamond Ring. Do I have to hear it? Probably not.
yeah.
But
I think with Diamond Ring, I think the highlight of fans seeing, especially the diehards, is seeing John and Richie sing it together.
yeah,
That
yeah.
intimate, thing. But back to memory real quick. That's actually my absolute favorite Bon Jovi song, and so
Well, okay.
I will never complain seeing it because
Yeah,
they could play it every single night, and I'll be just as happy. So it's seeing memory as a circles because I did a lot of circle tour shows in 2010, 2011, and he did memory quite a bit on the circle stage, which I just loved. I think
yeah,
like after you get done with Lay Your Hands on Me, or even later on in the tour, they do Keep the Faith before they do. Actually, I think that was the What About Now tour. Yeah, they do Keep the Faith, and then John comes out and does the boom, 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 boom. I think that's a cool kind of way to calm down a little bit.
yeah,
Such a big song. Um, I think the two big things, and you probably have notes about these two, is the encore. So they did two encores. The first encore was Dry County, which we're going to talk about, and
yeah,
Wanted. And then they do a second encore of Always, which we're going to talk about,
yeah,
and then Prayer. So let's start off with Dry County. Do you have notes already for this one?
yeah.
I'll
I
let you
do.
go first if you do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I've seen it. I've seen this live a couple of times. Hyde Park in 2011, and then I think it was Hyde Park in 2013 as well with Phil X. I think it was,
Mhm.
or maybe it's on the match the dates. Um, yeah, I don't know. I thought vocally, I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know if it is the best performance of the song I've ever heard.
I
I might
wouldn't
be a
say
bit
that. Yeah.
choosy here. It's not the best performance song I've ever heard. But that I love Dry County. I mean, it's an incredible track. I love the guitar solo. I love the build up of the song. Absolutely can't stand the single edit when it got released back in the day.
Yeah.
It's the full song or not at all.
Yeah. You
Um,
too.
the encore is the right position for it. for me, I think it's the mood and the intro of the song I love. And I think it plays really well with Wanted. I think those two tracks together in the encore, just like,
I was gonna say that too. Like you can't
yeah, yeah,
start an encore with Dry County, which is obviously a fan favorite, a 10-minute song that fans love, and there's so much emotion into it, and then go into one. Like Wanted's a good song, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but you can't for me, I think Dry County would have been a perfect way to end they could have done the encore as Wanted, then Dry
yeah,
County, and then John kind
yeah,
of walk off stage and then, eventually do
yeah.
the second. But yeah, I wanted to say that too because that was in my notes with Wanted.
It's tough. I mean, I remember seeing Dry County in the encore in Hyde Park in London in 2011, and there's this guy just to the left of me, and I kid you not, they sort of open the song and it just the keyboard so, and this guy's like, "What's this? What's this?" I'm like, man, just can you just stand somewhere else? Just please, just leave. Let me enjoy it.
If you don't know Dry County,
You don't deserve. Yeah, no, that's exactly
yeah,
it. And we're like
because
in the gold, and this is the gold circle. Yeah. So you kind of think
that's even
you're gonna
worse.
spend you're gonna spend some money and you're gonna be a diehard, yeah. And this guy's like, "What's this?" And he did it again for I think he did it again for Sunday or Saturday night. I'm just like, are you serious?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Like you said, when you're in the circle, that's where fans pay a lot of money. So usually fans that pay that much money are diehards. So you think that you're in a community. For
there was
people
a
who don't know what we're talking about, the circle tour
oh,
and we gone out tour saw the main stage, then it had a circle in front of the stage.
yeah,
You fit about probably 30 seats inside that circle. And then outside of that circle was the rest of the arena. And so like those 30 seats that are inside the circle belong to diehard fans, but we
yeah,
and I went through the same thing. I'd be in the circle, and I know I just said this a little bit ago, but they'd be playing like Saturday night or something. They'd be like, "What's this?" I'm like, "You do not deserve to be in this spot." Especially like if they do Dry County and someone asks that, get out. Just
yeah,
get
yeah.
out because
Yeah,
there's
the house lights should come on, and they
yeah
should just be ejected from the venue. It
yeah
should just be.
yeah because do you know how many diehard fans would love to have been able to see Dry County live, because Dry County and Always are so rare to see live, especially nowadays. And to
Yeah,
get both of those in the same night, man, that's awesome.
yeah.
I've
This
never
guy
seen
didn't think so, but yeah,
yeah. And by John doing those songs, you know that he is doing so well vocally, he's confident to do those two songs.
yeah, yeah. They're two big tracks, aren't they? To be in the encore at the end of the show. Like I say, he could stagger it and kind of Dry County one night, Always another night. Like I said, but they're both quite tough vocally. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pleasure to see those. It's a pleasure to see those two in any set list, isn't it? It's just
I,
incredible.
I'm sorry. I'm just still laughing about your story with the fans. Like, what's this?
So you're going to think I'm joking now, but
No, but
there was another guy. No, seriously, but we went. So I know it's Hyde Park. They played Hey God, and this guy to the right of me had his toilet break. Then
oh
he's,
God.
he, I know, and I remember looking at my friend at the time, thinking, "There's just no hope, is there?" It's just like you know, I've waited for years to hear that again live, and that's his toilet break. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't
just
get
can't believe it. There's no hope.
Oh my. Well, another thing I love about Dry County is Richie's good. I gotta stop laughing. I just can't get it. It's just funny. Toilet break, Anyway,
Yeah,
Richie's. I love the way Richie plays a guitar with his one because he plays it on I think it's a Gibson. I don't know if you're a guitar player or not, but I am. And so I'll pay attention to what instruments they play. And
yeah,
Richie plays like this really cool, beautiful yellow Gibson guitar, and it sounds really good on Dry County. Um,
yeah,
and just a little highlight for me for that song.
yeah, yeah.
Um, let's get into the second encore, Always. Like I said a little bit ago, to get Dry County and Always in one night, man, that's like a killer dream,
Yeah,
but Always John sounded really good. I liked how they had the five screens in the back, of just John singing. I thought that was kind of like a cool visual.
yeah,
Um, do
yeah.
you
It's quite yeah. In some ways, I've kind of yeah, because I think the back screen sort of moved up, moved around the stage a little bit from memory, but I think it yeah, it worked really well. I don't think the band, man, the music and the sound and the delivery kind of did everything. It didn't need, in a way, like an over the top production.
yeah,
You see some bands who kind of, I guess sort of Kiss being a great example of it, as good as they are. But yeah, it's sort of Bon Jovi sort of probably don't sort of need that. I think the delivery and the power of the songs is probably enough.
yeah,
But yeah, I think the screens, the quality of the screens, and just the lighting and the atmosphere for certain songs, they get that spot
yeah,
on.
absolutely. Um, let's get into night three. Blood on Blood's the opener again. So this is where I'd be like, okay, time for a new opener. A highlight for me is Bad Medicine, Bad Case, a Loving You cover. I just love the way that they did that. Doctor, Doctor, give me,
Yeah,
um,
it kind of fits really well, doesn't it, with Bad Medicine? Because they've
yeah,
not always done that, have they? Some of the songs they've selected just don't kind of flow quite as well. But I think that actually works really well together.
yeah,
Um,
uh,
but but topically on this one, I mean, Living in Sin. I love Living in Sin. I just, the New Jersey album for me is brilliant. I love that.
and I think Limited Sin was the first and only time that they did it at the O2 residency, I
Yeah,
believe.
I think you're right. I
which
think
which
you're
is
right.
kind of surprising to me. I thought I'd see it because I was going through each show and watching bits and pieces here and there. And I was like, they only did Living Sin
The,
one time on that whole residency.
those two, Living in Sin and Wild as the Wind from New Jersey, they've hardly ever been played in the UK. They're just songs that
Yeah,
don't get any time at all, to be honest. And they're two that have always eluded me. I would have loved to have heard live.
yeah, and
But yeah,
we're gonna
so,
yeah, because they do Wild as the Wind. We're gonna trust me. I got some
yeah,
notes on this one, but night seven they do Wild as the Wind, and let me tell
yeah,
you, I'm ready to talk about that. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, Living in Sin was really good. John was alone on the circle. And I always love that into the boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
boom, and then of course he does Chapel of Love at the end. It's
yeah,
such a great way to end the song. Um,
yeah.
was there something else that you wanted to say about Living in Sin?
No, no, I'm cool with that. No, I think I'm just disappointed I've not heard it live, to be honest. But
Oh,
and I think looking at this here, night three was the one I had tickets for, and
oh,
so I'd started a new job around this time period. I just couldn't get the time away from it. So it's a bit. This one's a bit bittersweet. Sort of looking through the set list because it's just like I look at it. I'm like, my notes are like Living in Sin. Oh, I love that. Obviously, Hey God, I'll Die for You was in there as well, and yeah, I think they again just felt like it had a different flow again from the previous two nights. And I think those three tracks for me were the standout. And I've heard I'll Die for You before, and I've heard Hey God before. But yeah, always enjoy those.
yeah. Is they also do I'll Be There for You.
Yeah,
I want to back up a little bit because like I'm putting myself in your shoes right now, and you say that you had tickets for night three, then you couldn't go because of your new job.
yeah.
How did you feel waking up the next morning and looking at the set list and you're like, like
It's
I don't think I could even put myself through that kind of pain. Like I would just like move on with my life and just act like that night never happened.
Yeah, I think I've not really talked about it for sort of 13 years, so it's
Yeah.
this is the first time I'm confessing this again, and
Just opening up and you're
yeah,
healing the wounds.
yeah, that's it. So no, I think enough time's passed now for me to talk about it, and not be too emotional.
You call your therapist
Well,
tomorrow and start
as
talking
I'm
about.
looking at it again, I'm looking at Hey God, thinking that was a toilet break for somebody, you know. And I'm just, and again, that was me waking up the next morning thinking, "There's my ticket. I didn't go, and I've missed it." But yeah,
Yeah,
fair
unbelievable.
enough.
Yeah, but just to kind of conclude, because there are some highlights for the Circle stage I want to talk about. They did, Limited Stand, I'll Be There for You. Never Say Goodbye on Saturday night. I think Saturday night was the first time that they did it on the Circle for London, right?
Yes,
And
yeah,
so I want to start with Never Say Goodbye because it is such a favorite of mine. I know it's a favorite for a lot of people.
mm.
And obviously, we haven't seen the electric version since what, 80s Slippery Tour? I think they did it once or twice on New Jersey, but they pretty much did acoustic in Jersey Tour and have done that acoustic ever since. And so
No,
obviously on this tour they do an acoustic, which I absolutely love. And
yeah,
it was really cool for them to do it at this show. Especially when they sing, together forever. The way that David plays, like when I was watching earlier, I was just watching David play the accordion to that song. It has such a beautiful sound to it. It's a little different than the keyboard sound to the song.
yeah.
It works. I really enjoy that. Um,
I think they do break that down and go into the acoustics and acoustic set, and then you say David Bryan's on the accordion, and Tico's there, and you kind of you I guess if you get to see just how good musicians they are in that sense, just
oh
like
yeah.
take away all the kind of sounds and all the sort of um, all the kind of mix and all the different instruments that are there, and then there's nowhere to hide from it, and you've just got that kind of acoustic sound. I think that for me, um, yeah, I will always enjoy that side of it. They did it back in '96 at Milton Keynes with a couple of songs, but yeah, you just sort of and that is a moment actually when because when I went on the final night, it's the first time I'd taken my now wife. She'd never seen Bon Jovi before,
Oh,
and this final night was the first time for us to go together. Obviously, I'd been quite a few times previously, but it's such a buzz taking someone for the first time.
oh, I
It's
know.
so you get you know what's coming, and you kind of and you kind of know what's and for me to sort of share that enjoyment with somebody and to see them enjoying it is one of my highlights. I
Yeah.
think that's just amazing.
I'm glad you meant that because I did that I've done that with girlfriends and and I friends and like I've had people be like I don't get it, which is whatever. But taking my wife because when my wife and I met, we met right before this house tour and started dating and stuff. And she knew how huge of a Bon Jovi fan I was because we met online, and she lived like a half hour from me, and like so we talked on the phone for like a few weeks and stuff. And I told her, yeah, I'm a big Bon Jovi fan. I kind of left it at that. Like, usually when most people say I'm a big fan of this, like they're like, oh yeah, you enjoy them a lot then. And then she came over to my house one time and walked into my home office and saw all the Bon Jovi memorabilia that I had. And she's like, I think I underestimated
Yeah,
quote unquote big of a fan you were.
yeah,
But fast forward, I took her to a couple shows on this house tour, and she was like, "Wow!" Because before she really didn't know Bon Jovi other than Prayer, and I
yeah,
took her to the show or a few shows, and she was blown away. She couldn't believe how great of a frontman John was at his age, and like I was like, "Yeah, Rachel, like this is the greatest band in the world, okay?" And but
yeah,
I remember after the show, this is my favorite part. After the show was over, oh, let me back up. Before the show, when I go to a show, I always buy a lot of merch. And I said, "Hey, I'll buy you a couple shirts. What do you want?" She goes, "Nah, I really wouldn't wear their shirts," and blah blah blah. After the show, she's like, "I gotta get a shirt," and she ran to the merch line and like,
yeah,
she goes to all these runaway trips with me, all the different events John does, and obviously the concerts and stuff. And it's great to have seen her turn to
yeah,
a fan. So I completely understand the feeling like when you showed your wife for the first time.
yeah, yeah.
We're getting sidetracked here. I'm sorry.
I know. Sorry, I know.
Let's get into Hey God, and I'm I'm trying not to laugh again because of the whole toilet break story. But Hey God is phenomenal, and it's a song that a lot of diehards would love to see again. And
Yeah,
we talked about how Work for the Working Man was not a good spot after the acoustic set. Hey God was the spot after the acoustic set for this. And I think it was perfect. It was a great way to build the crowd up again. Even if fans didn't know it, I think they still enjoyed it because it's like one of those songs like, what is this? Like, this is really good, you know? Um,
It's such a powerful song. I mean, I remember buying these days when it first came out, and I was really surprised. I was really surprised to hear "Hey God" for the first time.
yeah,
It felt, you know, really, really sort of bit of grunge in there, you know, sort of maybe a bit of that sort of mid 90s kind of feel to it. But yeah, I mean, it's a heavy song. It felt like a really heavy song for Bon Jovi,
yeah,
and you know, his vocal delivery back in '95 and '96 on that was incredible. He does a great job on Night Three with Hey God.
yeah.
Um,
And I like
he
the way that
really does.
yeah, and I love the
Yeah,
whole tambourine thing. You know, kind of like the
yeah.
Keep the Faith, but you know, the tambourine on Hey God.
Well,
And
it's one, and it's one of those songs you see it sort of performed. And again, I did in 2011, and you just see John. For me, it looks like John is so into that song, and like you say, just really, and the band. I can see the band are enjoying it, and it's just one of those moments where you just think, why are we not playing this a bit more often? It's just,
exactly.
you know, there are certain tracks that don't really appear in the set list very often, but when they do play them, they just seem to be. It seems to kind of elevate the performance a little bit, and they just seem to be so into it. And for me, yeah, probably "Hey God" perhaps is one of those tracks that you know, yeah, I mean, great song.
Yeah,
Love that.
yeah,
Good position in the set list.
yeah. You know, and Richie's on that yellow Gibson again that he played, you know, the night before with Dry County. And that guitar really goes well with this song. And I love the way that they do the outro, especially Richie and Tico, you know, because you have that da 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 da, you know, and Tico's kind of going
Yeah,
on the drums, and I just love the way that they do the outro, and then the transition that they do into "I Die for You." You know, they end with "Hey God" and then go the da da, you know, Dave,
yeah,
you know, that intro to "I Die for You." And watching John on guitar, you know, that was pretty cool to see on, you know, especially for the fans that got to that show. That'd be
yeah.
perfect. You know, seeing "Hey God," then "I Die for You" right afterwards. Um,
Well, they're
yeah,
both a really they're both a really good tempo, aren't they? Those tracks.
yeah,
And I think, like I say, I think it just kept that energy level really high. I think you can see it in the band. I wish I'd been there. I do. See, it's all coming back now. I wish I'd been there for night three. It's painful
old,
getting there.
old wounds. And then just to kind
Yeah.
of before we get into night four here, the encore was "It's My Life," "Love's the Only Rule," "Wanted," and "Prayer." Nothing. I don't really have anything to say about those. You know, obviously, we talked about "Love's the Only Rule" already, so we don't really need to
So
unless you have something you wanted to.
yeah, sort of unusual position for it's my life. I think in there,
I know.
but
Yeah.
you know,
Like,
I'm not sure. I kind of think that always works good mid set. You know, I think, but yeah, it's not the most exciting encore, especially when you
yeah.
look at the previous night.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those songs that's better to be early in the set, like in the first 10 songs, you know. I
Yeah,
don't know. It's one of those songs that so early on in the show and it hypes people up, keeps the hype going. It's weird to see as an encore.
yeah,
Let's get into night four. So different
sure.
opener. And I actually love this song as an opener. And I wish they would have done a lot more. Happy Now. You know, I just, you know, especially like if people haven't seen Happy Now as an opener, go to YouTube right now, whether you search London Night 4 or Philly 2010, watch it. The buildup is so cool because, you know, you like the curtain, you know, they do their intro, Circle Tour
Yeah,
intro, and then the curtain's still down. And then you hear Richie on the talk box, you know, do that. Then I was, you know, the drums are coming a little bit, and then the curtain rises and Tico, you know, goes,
yeah,
you know, and then as the curtain rises, there's John, and you know, I think just that whole talk box build up in the drums, it's such a good opener, but it's also a song that doesn't a lot of people don't know because it's a deep track on the circle, and but it's still a gem of a song. It's a great opener. And I think it
yeah.
still
It's
hypes
got.
people up.
Yeah, I really enjoy hearing it. I still listen to that track on the Circle now. It's one of
Yeah,
my highlights on the album. Um, Similar tempo to I Believe. I think it feels a little. It feels to me a similar tempo to I Believe as an opener.
Actually, I never thought about that. Yeah.
I think when
Yeah.
you the build up and build up and build up, and then kind of the release of the music, it feels for me quite similar. But
Yeah.
I really enjoy that track.
Yeah.
Um,
And just a side note, I believe would have been a great, if John
oh
tried 70 different songs, I believe for one of the nights as an opener would have been incredible. Um,
well, that was a track I got at Twickenham in London in 2008, and again there was somebody in the crowd who didn't know what that song was either. So
yeah.
that was that they played, I believe, for the first time in however many years that was. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would have worked as an opener. Still a great track.
Absolutely. And then, 5 songs in, they do Radio Saved My Life Tonight, which is the first time that they did it at the O2. I think it was actually the only time that they did it. They might have done it one other time later on those nights.
I think it was. It got played a lot. It was a lot over here. It's Have a Nice Day tour, and I think maybe Summer Lost Highway tour. But yeah, I mean, I like radio. I like that track, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've got a problem with
And
that.
a lot of, we talk about a lot of, general fans not knowing the deep stuff. But if you watch footage on YouTube, like fan videos, fans recording the song, there's a lot of crowds screaming and excited for that song. Even on the tour last year, as that song came on, a lot of people were happy about it. So for to see it as a deep cut and outtake and see the excitement that people have for that song is pretty cool. Um,
Yeah,
so I thought that performance was great. The circle stage they did open all night from now. I know there's different versions of it, so people were like, "Well, which open all night?" The bounce version.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they did Diamond Ring, I'll Be There For You, Something for the Pain, and Saturday Night. So they did 5 songs on the
It's
circle stage.
quite a lot.
Pretty cool. So I know we talked about all of them. So let's talk about Open All Night. Um, I thought that was really cool, and I love the way um, John sang. It was more of a intimate type song, and I think that was great for the circle stage, especially as the first song of that circle stage set. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, it's difficult. I can't. I remember sort of hearing Bounce the first time, and kind of. I'm not sure whether I was immediately sort of drawn to the song, but it's actually one of those that after sort of a relationship and some issues, kind of around that sort of time period, I sort of revisiting that song. I can't. I do enjoy that one. I think these are songs that I feel that John really enjoys kind of putting on the album, and like I say, there's a more personal message there, and he always delivers that kind of emotion and that sort of passion in these types of songs. And yeah, Bon Jovi are masters of creating that song that obviously has a meaning for them, but we all latch onto that as well. We all kind of find our own meaning in that song, and it's just I don't know any other band like it, and this is another one of those songs. It's a fairly, and I think you probably hit the nail on the head. It does feel very intimate in the way John delivers it, especially sort of in that acoustic environment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm yeah, I think that fits sort of perfectly. I think 5 songs is quite a lot for that
yeah,
stage.
I do too. Especially, but a fan like me would not complain because I would see an entire show like that. But just from a
Yeah,
general fan point of view, especially the only songs they really would know from this is "I'll Be There For You" and "Saturday Night." Pain is questionable. Even Diamond Ring is questionable for the general fans to know. But
yeah,
either way, I'm all for it. I think the big thing to talk about now, and this is probably one of the highlights of the entire O2 residency, Pink Flamingos and Let It Rock. So this is, we keep talking about what song is perfect to come back after the acoustic set. Pink Flamingos and Let It Rock. Now, like you said a little bit ago, this would have been incredible as a show opener, but I'll still
wow,
take
yeah,
this. And this would have been a kind of a cool part for John to kind of take another break real quick if he wanted, but he kind of just stayed on the stage and I think rested his vocals a little bit. And he introduced the band. I think he introduced the band, and then he asked David to do Pink Flamingos. And then I remember like that huge crowd just roared because Slippery is
yeah,
such a phenomenal album. Everybody knows Let It Rock, even though it wasn't a single. It's part of a huge successful album, and I would just love to see Pink Flamingos a lot more, you know. And if
Well, we
anybody,
didn't. I mean, yeah, well, we didn't know Pink Flamingos when. I mean, when Everyone Wet was first released. I mean, what's Pink Flamingos? You know. But yeah, the intro to Let It Rock. It. I guess sort of Lay Your Hands on Me is born from that. I think, is it? You know, that's again that sort of build up, and it almost becomes
yeah,
sort of quite. That first song that came out on the Bon Jovi albums, I believe, and as well. But yeah, I mean, I mean, what an incredible song to break out, you know,
yeah,
from nowhere,
yeah.
really,
It,
just it's a shame it didn't get more play,
I know,
and like I say, as a residency, perhaps like I say, it could have taken sort of number one spot on a set list for one of those nights. That would have been great. But look, I I still revisit that quite a bit, sort of on YouTube, and watch that track. I mean, it's
I know.
just
It's
you
a
know,
it's a gem. Yeah. And the way that John sings those lines too. I mean, he just grabs his microphone and just plays. I just love the way he delivers those lines. It's just like I don't know. I like I said, they need to do a lot more. And another fun little tidbit too that I really enjoyed. I don't know why, but I just love it so much. Is when John sings "It's All Right," and then the band's, you hear Richie and David singing "It's All Right" in the back.
yeah,
I love that part too.
yeah.
Um, the
Like I
encore.
said, yeah. No, I was going to say, I mean, for a song that hasn't seen any time really in the set list, I mean, it still sounds so polished.
Yeah,
And like you say, with the backing vocal, it's like you could be you could almost forgive the band for not for some of that backing vocal not being there, or something being missed, or but it just I mean it's the whole intro, the song. Just a shame it didn't get a lot of play really, but
I know, but
yeah,
it was nice that the band did a professional cam footage, and they put it on YouTube
yeah,
like a month later, and so it was kind of cool. We
that's
got
it.
a professional shot of that
Yeah,
and good audio and stuff like that. So, encore real quick because "Have a Nice Day" wanted prayer. I think "Have a Nice Day" was a good, it's a good encore song sometimes, especially with that, the
yeah.
dun, dun, dun,
Mm.
dun, 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 you know. But was there anything else you want to say about night four before we get into five?
No, I'm cool with that.
Okay, night five. Last Man Standing was the opener. I thought Bad Name was really good. For I don't know why, but like for some reason, like it just seemed more electrifying than compared to the other nights. All good performances, but night five of Bad Name was pretty good.
Yeah, when night five there was no David Bryan. He was at the Tony Awards, I think, in New York, on night five.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so whether or not, so I felt watching that footage, it's almost like, and it's interesting you mentioned Bad Name, but it just felt like John, the rest of the
Yeah,
band would just, they had to kind of almost pick it up a bit more, because
yeah,
his backing vocal, or just he's not there, so it just kind of felt there was a bit more reliance on the remaining band members to perhaps sort of just put a bit more
yeah.
in. So yeah, he wasn't there that night, which because I thought again the set list wasn't quite as
It was a
um,
generic set list.
yeah, and I think maybe potentially that might be another one of the reasons for that.
Yeah,
Compared to the
yep.
previous nights, it just felt a bit more sort of not quite as many sort of rarities, or um, I'll pick out Superman tonight and Bed of Roses. I love Bed of Roses.
Bed of Roses was phenomenal. I actually,
Never tire of that.
yeah, Bed of Roses was, since you brought, I love the way that John really sings that one, especially like when he's screaming "Bed of Nails."
Yeah,
That crowd interaction during the solo. Um, yeah, just phenomenal. But to be honest with you, I really don't have much to say about this. Like I think this set list was kind of more quote unquote generic, but still good. It was
yeah. I
still
think
a good show. And then the encore saw "In These Arms," "Wanted," and "Prayer." But was there anything you wanted to say about night five before we get this? We kind of
no. I think you're right. I mean, like I said, I think there's some good performances in it. It's very professional. It's there's nothing wrong with it, but I think probably not having David Bryan there, I just think they played it safe.
yeah,
I think for a casual fan, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think if that was the one night, as if that was the one night you or I had a ticket, and you look at the rest of the set, you just be
Got
thinking,
dipped.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, I'm happy to move on to night six.
yeah. So after night five, they took a few nights off, and I know they had a show in Paris, and then they came back to London to do the other 7 nights.
Yeah.
Uh, Thorn in My Side. That's the first time that they did it at the O2. The only time. I kind of liked it early in the set list. I thought that was kind of cool. And this is Thorn in My Side. That's always been a song that I've enjoyed seeing live, especially on the Circle. Actually, the only time that they did it was on the Circle tour.
Yeah.
And but seeing John and Richie at the end doing it's not on the album, but live, John and Richie would do like a little guitar jam session at the end. And that's always been the highlight for me and a lot of other diehard fans, seeing that portion of the song.
It's one that I've never seen live. But yeah, and it's one of those moments where you just think, and that's why can't why can't we have that on the album? Why can't the album be a bit looser? And why can't we have that
Yeah.
guitar that guitar solo on the album and just let loose a little bit?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the way that's put together live really works. I'd have been happy to have that in the set list. I think a lot of casual fans won't get it, but I don't think you'd have to appreciate the music and the guitar work,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you know the song or not. I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's one of those songs too. You when the band does a deep cut, you're either going to get fans or be like, "What's this?" and not care about it, you know,
mm,
or you're going to get fans that that say, I don't know this song, but like I love it, and I'm going to buy it when I get home tonight. I think "Thorn in My Side" is one of those type songs where
yeah,
you don't know it, but like okay, this song is pretty fucking good. Especially when you see them do a jam session, then they go home buy "Thorn in My Side." Like, well, where's the jam session?
yeah. I know.
you know?
They must, and to flesh that song out. I mean, they did it with "This House Is Not for Sale" as an opener, and I know "Limitless" they put a guitar solo in last year, but I think it just with "This House Is Not for Sale" and "Limitless," I sort of get it because they're released as singles. They did get some radio play over here, and I sort of get they're built for that sort of 4 minute kind of radio slot. But yeah, with something like "Thorn on My Side," it's like, well, it was never going to be released as a single. I don't think so. There's no reason on the album why it couldn't have been fleshed out a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, I mean, but look, hey, I'll be happy to hear that in the set list.
Me too. I wouldn't complain if we got to see it again. Um,
No, no.
so this is I think the first time that Richie doesn't do "Lay Your Hands on Me," but they do "Homebound Train" with Richie on vocals. And I think it was, like I said, kind of good to change it up. And I
Yeah.
love that Richie sings "Homebound," has that bluesy stuff, because I think
Mm.
"Homebound Train" was kind of Richie's idea. Oh, I hear a puppy.
Oh, that's
Oh,
that's that's the dog saying hello.
what's going on?
He's all right. It's just he really enjoys Homebound Train too.
Yeah, I guess. So
Yeah,
that was cool to see. They did so for the circle stage. They did "Open All Night" again, "Diamond Ring," and then "Miss Fourth." So since we talked about the
yeah,
other two, let's talk about "Miss Fourth." That's a gem because that's from the box set, and that song should have been done a lot more. I think. I loved seeing it like with the whole band doing it, acoustic.
yeah. I mean, it was certainly one of the highlights in the box set, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And I guess, I mean, it must have been quite a tough one to leave off. Keep the faith. Um, Whether it fits in with that album or not, I don't know. But man, I mean, there's the body of work's incredible, isn't it? To think that's let's leave this one on the shelf, guys. I mean, it's to most bands that is a great song.
yeah,
I think I remember John saying in an interview it's quite an emotional song, or it's quite a bit of emotional depth for that, and I just can't remember the interview, but yeah, I mean that's a deep cut. That's a die hard moment at any show, isn't it? I mean, picking that one out and playing it.
yeah. But like,
You are only going to know that if you're a diehard and you've bought that box set and you've kind of delved into their back catalogue and all the outtakes. Um,
I love the way that John and Richie sing it together. Like they just
Yeah.
really harmonize well together, especially like this performance. And it's nice because like Let It Rock, we got professional cam footage of this performance too, which and it's on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch it. So um
Yeah.
so let's go. So I think the biggest highlight for me for this whole night is Blood Money. And I think that
Mhm.
was like the first encore song. Um
Yeah.
I love Blood Money. It's my favorite from the Blaze of Glory album. It's obviously a solo album from a solo Blaze of, it's a solo song from John's solo album Blaze of Glory, tongue tied.
Yeah.
And Blood Money has always been my favorite from that album. I love it vocally. And to see John just do that for especially as an encore song, because they do it later on in the nights as a circle stage.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool to, and I don't know if there was just some kind of I think this was the night where there was a little bit of a tech issue that night. It might have been a different show that I'm thinking of, so don't quote me on this. But I think there was like a small tech issue with the drums, and that's why
Hmm.
John did Blood Money for a couple minutes as they
Okay.
worked with the Kinks. I could be wrong. I might be thinking of a different
Yeah.
show, but I think there was like a tech issue, and that's why John did Blood Money at that show. But
Look, to hear, Miss Fourth of July and then Blood Money. Again, I mean, Blood Money is one of those. I don't know if you would have expected to hear Miss Fourth of July live. I mean, I think the only expectation I've ever had from any of John's solo work at a Bon Jovi concert is probably Blaze of Glory.
yeah,
I would there'd be no expectation for me to think, we're going to hear anything else other than that track if they make a decision to play anything at all from it. So yeah, to hear Blood Money was just incredible, wasn't it? I mean, it's just again one of those that you would never expect to hear.
yeah, exactly. Two gems. Um, let's get into night seven. I think
Yeah,
that night seven is probably the best set list that they had out of all 12 nights.
yeah.
And we're gonna talk about two really, really good songs from
Mm-hmm.
so, Happy Now is the opener. That's not one of the songs. So
No,
people
no.
probably listen like, oh no, 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 no. But the first one, so this is probably the sixth song on the set list, Wild in the Streets. And this is a song that you, me, and millions of others would just love to see again. And I know John probably couldn't do the chorus of it now, but that'd be a great way for let the audience sing it. But even in
Yeah,
his performance here 13 years ago, he really did really well in the chorus. Um, so, and I always think Wild in the Streets could also be like a really good encore song as well. I wish they'd kind of venture with that again, as an encore song.
yeah. I think it. I mean, it's. I mean, when was the last time that was? I remember it on the Crush tour.
Rush
Possibly
Tour,
one wild night, maybe. Yeah.
I think they did it quite a bit on Crush Tour, and I think they did
Yeah.
it a couple times on Have a Nice Day.
Mm. But yeah, I mean,
Once on Lost Highway, I think.
yeah, I can't really remember, but I mean, yeah, it sort of come out of nowhere really in that set list on night seven. I mean, I don't know if it had been played on the Circle Tour previously, but it's such an upbeat song. It's got a great chorus. I mean, is there a bad song on Slippery? I mean, I love the
The answer
album.
is no. Social
Yeah,
disease.
maybe, yeah. If you be, yeah, maybe it is. But Wild in the Streets. I mean, for any other band, that's probably a lead single. That's another band's Living on a Prayer. You know,
Yeah.
so to whack that in, kind of six song in, just as another track in the set list. I think it's pretty special. Yeah, it's great.
But watching this performance, John just seems like so happy. And I could say that about this entire residency or even tour. Like you get, you see John playing the hits, and yeah, he's happy to be there and he's playing them. But you see more happiness and excitement from John when he's doing deep tracks. And
Yeah.
Out of the Streets is proof of that because John just seems so happy. He's playing a deep song he never really plays and seeing the audience happy to see it. And I think that really adds a lot of
I think
happiness to seeing it.
did John did John write that song on his own? Is that I think so. Wild the
Yeah,
Streets. So
John wrote that. by him. I have separate. Let me take a quick look. I
Yeah,
believe he
we,
did.
we, we need we need to know the answer.
We need to. This is life or death. Hold on, I got the booklet open right now. But
Yeah,
let's see here. Yeah, just John. So now everybody can
yeah. So
because we got the answer.
there you go. So I think that for me is it. I think when you see the how he is playing this track, and again, isn't it? I think he puts the set list together. So there's no reason why it couldn't appear on more set lists. But
Yeah,
I think again, it's one of those that he probably dusts off and plays. He sees the audience really enjoying that song and singing it, and it's probably another one. Remembering he's written that song on Slippery because of the strength of the singles off of it and the hits. To a casual fan, it probably does fade away a little bit, doesn't it? But if he's up there singing that song and just seeing the reaction in the crowd, it must be a real nice feeling.
yeah,
One of the ones he's written himself, that he's putting out. So,
yeah.
um,
And
but
maybe
that's not the best song of the evening, though, is it?
no, let's get into the last one of the evening. And
Yeah,
and ironically, it's the next song. It's right after, and it's funny too because you have Wild in the Streets, Wild is the Wind.
I know, I
The
know.
two complete different meanings of Wild.
Yeah,
But yeah, so and I would have gone if I was at this show and seen Wild in the Streets so early on in the set list, I'd be flipping out. And then on
oh
top of that, they do Wild as the Wind.
yeah,
Like the fanboy and me would just probably have a heart attack. So they do Wild as the Wind. I love John's vocals on this one.
yeah,
He sings it in a different way, but in such a really good way. It really
yeah.
works for him. Um,
There's
uh,
more. There's a bit more maturity about it. His voice is obviously aged at this point anyway, but I think there is that.
you know,
It,
and,
you know,
and
it's less. It's less poppy in a sense. There's a bit of maturity in the delivery. I love the guitar, the acoustic
oh,
guitar sort of build up to it.
especially the way that they end it, because on the New Jersey studio version, the song fades away.
Yeah,
Obviously, you can't do that live because it would just be weird. And so I love the way that Richie ends the song with the guitar. And he's on
yeah,
the lower neck. I'm a guitar player, so I know what I'm saying here, but he's on the lower neck and just hitting those high E's and B's and just kind of going back and forth. It's a great way in
yeah,
the ego ending it. Um, and I love the way that they do, the best line of the song, maybe a better man would live and die for you, but baby, a better man would never say goodbye. I love
yeah.
the way that they do that at this.
Great.
At this
Yeah,
yeah, I'd love to see Wild as the Wind again. That's
yeah.
a,
I say it's one that I've never seen live that I would desperately have loved to have heard.
yeah. But I think
But
you
yeah, it
have
doesn't.
to
It
have,
doesn't. You've seen it once, yeah?
I've seen it maybe two or three times.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been to 68 shows my whole life.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think not that that matters, but the reason I'm saying this is because I think I've only ever seen it twice out of all those shows.
Yeah. All those. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Runaway, first time that they did it at these shows, which is kind of surprising that they didn't play Runaway till night 7. Um,
Yeah. It's quite late on, isn't it? It's. I think most. I think most. I think most. I think when Crossroads came out and it was. The only track from the first album that was kind of on there, the greatest hits. I do think that song is well known and well received by the
yeah.
majority of people in that venue. Um, I think it is known. I still like Runaway. I love the sort of piano acoustic version they did on the Crush tour.
Oh my gosh. You know what I would give? I like Runaway. Don't get me wrong, but I would definitely choose the 2000 Crash Tour
Yeah,
version, just Johnny Davis.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that for me was just
I think we should
that,
start
was that
protesting.
was that was incredible. That at Wembley,
Yeah.
that sort of playing that just sounded amazing. Um, but yeah, I enjoy Runaway Live. It's strange that it's taken until night 7 to sort of dust it off and play it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
surprising. Ben, the only thing I want to say about Bad Medicine real quick is I love the cover that they did of Painted Black, which that wasn't one that they did often. Usually they always do Bad Case or Pretty Woman, Old Time Rock and Roll, and sometimes a few other Rocky Like a Hurricane or something. But they rarely ever did Painted Black, and so I think that was kind of like a cool change up. Um,
yeah,
I just wanted to kind of throw that out there real quick. Um,
yeah,
Circle Stage, they did Open All Night, Diamond Ring, I'll Be There for You, um, and then Love for Sale. Um, so I guess I want to talk about "I'll Be There for You" just a little bit. I think it was probably the best performance of that song of the entire residency.
okay,
Um,
yeah,
I just like the whole Valentine line, and then the wine, I love the way that
yeah.
John Ritchie kind of saying that, and there was like a really, and I think what makes that song so great at that night, the crowd just seemed really, especially when they're doing the whoa, the crowd screaming back was just so loud. I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there. And I didn't make any notes. I don't know why, but they did Love for Sale first time during the acoustic set.
It should
And
be. It should feel like it's quite special, shouldn't it? But I think with everything else they're playing and all the other things that are heard. I mean, Love for Sale was a good bit of fun on New Jersey. Um, if you're going to hear it anywhen in a Bon Jovi show, it's going to be in that acoustic sort
yeah,
of section in the middle of the
yeah,
concert. I think it'd be fun to hear it. Um, would I prefer to hear Miss Fourth of July or Open All Night or Blood Money or I don't know.
hard decision.
It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun, but you know, yeah, I'll sort of sit on the fence a little bit with Love for Sale. Really, it's a fun song, but there are songs I'd probably prefer to hear.
Yeah, I like
So,
Love for Sale, but I'm not crazy. But like I loved it for the This Stuff Feels Right DVD. Especially as like an
yeah,
opening song. That was pretty
yeah,
cool. So then after the
yeah.
acoustic set, they they start work for the working man again. But I will
Oh,
say I actually really dug that performance of it. Weird
okay.
spot on the set list again, but really good perform. I really like the way that John kind of sang it and stuff. Um, but I think the best we got Wild in the Streets, we got Wild as the Wind, Love for Sale, and then to top it all
Here it
off,
is.
the very
Here it comes.
encore song, Something to Believe in, which if
Ow!
I ever get to see that song again live, I will flip. I will scream. I will be happy. And
Yeah.
if anybody has not watched that performance, I don't even care if people turn this podcast off right now and go listen to it because you have to. It
Yeah.
is, excuse my language here, is fucking incredible. Just
It
out of this
is.
world, amazing. Like Yokohama 1996 of that performance, and it's also on the One Wild Night live album.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This almost matches that. And it's amazing because you watch that in 1996 and then this 2010 and still see how well John can sing. Just incredible. There was a side note. There was a video, I think last year or this house tour, where
Hmm.
Hugh was doing like a backstage rig of his stuff, and he told the interviewer that every single tour he has a special bass that he plays for something to believe in. And most times they will not like they
Yeah.
he even brought it out for this house tour and last year's tour, never played something to believe in. But he says he always brings it just in case John decides he wants to do it.
Okay.
So a little fun little side note there.
Yeah.
But so something
Shame that bass. Shame that bass guitar doesn't get a lot of use, does it?
no, it doesn't, not on
It's a
stage.
shame. It's a shame. I feel sorry for that guitar.
But
Um,
so something
oh,
to believe in was the first time it got
oh,
played live since 2003. and and like this huge audience screaming with happiness, was awesome too.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's
I,
the
will let
performance.
yeah, I'll let you
It's
talk.
incredible performance. Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, I, I've only ever seen it once live, and that was 1996 at Milton Keynes. if I'm being honest, um, back in the day, then you probably didn't realise how lucky you were to sort of see a set list like that. We had My Guitar Lies Bleeding, It's Hard Letting You Go, Something to Believe In, Damned. It's so many songs from these days, and you probably, when you're there, you kind of enjoying it. But it's only when you look back now and think, blimey, when would I ever hear My Guitar Lies Bleeding again? So yeah, I mean, something to believe in. I think it was the first song John wrote for These Days. I think again, it's a song he's wrote on his own for the album. The depth and the emotion in the vocal on the album is incredible, and you don't really think that can be perhaps replicated live. It's incredibly difficult.
They
Like I
do it
said,
well.
I think on the These Days tour he did do it. I don't know if every night he delivered it in that same way, but he does an amazing job here on this night at the Residency. I mean, all those years later, I think his vocal and I think the band were in a really, really good place from like 2008 through to probably sort of the open air sort of 2011 kind of period. They were throwing all these songs in, but that performance for me is one of the highlights of the Residency. I think it's
Yeah, me too. Probably.
I can listen to it over and over again, and it's such a shame it doesn't get played that much. I know it'd be a struggle now to probably sing that track. To be honest, I know it would be, but as you said, anyone wanting to kind of hear that song live, look on YouTube for London O2, Something to Believe in, because it's just incredible. It's
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yep, exactly. I could praise it all day. And one of the things I'll say too is just I love the way, this is such a deep track that only like a lot of the deep diehard fans know. But when they do the hey, hey, hey part,
Oh,
the
yeah,
entire audience is screaming, if not louder, hey,
they
hey,
are.
just unbelievable. So let's get into night 8. Blood was the opener. Summertime. I absolutely love. I remember the Lost Highway tour. I loved seeing
Yeah,
Summertime getting played. Because I love watching Tico play the boom 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 boom.
yeah,
I love that. So it was kind of cool to see them do it again. Um, yeah, I always say it should be done more because I also love the way that John sings it. You know, especially like I love the way he sings the verses.
yeah.
These
It's
like pick
I,
up, check
I,
out.
I like it. I think Lost Highways is an album that actually has held up really well. I think the production on that one, the quality of the songs through it. It took a little while for some of the songs to sort of grab me when I first had that album. It was a bit different to Have a Nice Day, and obviously different direction as such. But yeah, Summertime's a fun song. I like the lyrics. I think actually the problem Bon Jovi have got is there's so many good songs to throw into a set list, isn't there? Yeah, you could put Summertime in there, but at the expense of you know so many others. So trying to fit them all in, but yeah, I think it's one. There'd be no harm in dusting off that song, a few times during a tour and mixing it in.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's a decent song. It wasn't a single, was it? Summertime.
No,
No. It could have
even
been. Yeah. Could have been. Could have
I
done well.
agree because I remember when Lost Highway was released June 2007, and I remember this is before you could hear any of the songs before the album came out.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear the songs; you could only hear the single. So anyway, I remember getting the Lost Highway album, going home, putting it on. Lost Highway was the first track, then Summertime, and I always thought, you know what, this has got to be a second or third single because it's perfect
Yeah.
because we're in the middle of summer already, and I made a lot of memories with that song because it was summertime, playing summertime. I don't know. I'm surprised it never was a single though.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the Circle Stage songs were Bed of Roses, Squeeze Box, which was a cover. These
Mm-hmm.
Days and Saturday Night. So let's talk about These Days because that was the first time that it got played on the tour, and not the version that we know. They did it acoustic,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
And I think it sounds really cool acoustic because Richie also brings out his double neck guitar, and I think he
Yeah.
never did that on. He plays that guitar on Wanted, and I think hearing an acoustic really gives you the appreciation for how it sounds with the acoustic chords and the way that Richie plays the notes. Um,
Well, I think yeah. I mean, I think these days, I think the album again. It's just there's so much maturity around that sort of album in comparison to probably what came before, and I think Richie is for me Richie is all over that album. You know, just that whether it's that just a little bit of blues influence and just that style of guitar play that he has, his vocal, the harmonies all the way through it. So hearing it acoustic with both their vocals, and that song sort of stripped down. Yeah, that's a really nice performance of that track. Unusual for the first time it's been played at the Residency for it to be in
I
that
know.
position.
Yeah.
And again, you think these days the album was huge over here. Number one album, those 3 nights at Wembley and the following tour. That album was huge. So you know, no reason not to play that in the encore in its full electric version. So it's quite a big decision to sort of have that
Yeah,
as a smaller scale acoustic version.
exactly.
But that's again that's where you see what fine musician. God, I can't say it. Musicians, these guys are. They can just pick one of their tracks and just kind of strip it down, play it that way. In
And
some ways it's more emotional, isn't it? In some ways it sort of brings a emotional depth to the song you probably don't necessarily hear off the album. So
yeah, and I agree with you. Yeah, because I also love the way that John sings that. I was walking around just a face in the crowd, trying to keep myself out of the rain. And
yeah,
like you kind of said, it has a different feel to the way that he delivers those lines. It's all about delivery. When
yeah,
you read the song and then you sing, it's all about delivery, and the way that he says those lines kind of gets you, especially the whole, like when they do. And Jimmy Choo busted both his legs trying to learn to fly.
yeah,
Second story window, he just um, you know, but when John and Richie are both singing, don't you know that all my heroes died, and I guess I'd rather die than fade away. The way that Richie
yeah,
also sings those lines too, like it's delivery, and
yeah,
it hits you. I
yeah,
last highlight for me of that song was as seeing David on the accordion playing that song too.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Very
I mean,
very unusual.
yeah,
To hear it in that way. But
but cool way.
again, I definitely recommend searching that one out and look and seeing that. It's just a very different way, and they say to hear some of those lyrics just delivered. Um, and like I say, it's in essence the same song, but it just hits you in a different way. So yeah,
Yeah.
really enjoyed that performance.
And then the encore was I Love This Town, Wanted Prayer. So we'll talk about I Love This Town, which I don't think you could have done. They do it the final night, which we'll get into, but you can't do a residency without doing I Love This Town. Now, obviously, I keep talking about general fans today versus the diehards. I don't mean to, but as a diehard, you would expect them to do I Love This Town at one of these nights. And so they
Yeah,
finally do it on night 8. And I think it's a great encore song. Whether it's the first song that they play or the last song, and they've done it different ways on the Lost Highway tour and so.
yeah,
But I love JBJ and Richie at the end of the song, at the end of the performance. I don't know. This is a little highlight for me.
yeah. It's I can't say it's not my favourite from Lost Highway,
Really?
but yeah,
Surprise.
I think Lost Highways. So it's probably the one album I kind of I probably appreciate more now than I did when it's first released. Really, and I think the songs have held up really well.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy listening to that. But maybe it's a bit like kind of Wild in the Streets, where there are so many good songs on. There's so many good songs on Lost Highway that actually it's not one that's sort of in the forefront of for me really. But I think live and in that sort of encore spot, it does come to life. It does sort of
Yeah.
it's that's what it's built for me. That's and and that's why I say it feels a bit like kind of I think Wild in the Streets was sort of built for that live show, and that kind of delivery with in just that kind of energy. And in different, I know it's a different song, I know it's a different style, but I think I Love This Town was written, for kind of live shows
Yeah.
and to fit in that encore.
Showing appreciation for the
Yeah,
time.
and yeah, and I think for that, it works. It was going to show up someone in the residency,
Yeah.
and Encore's the right spot for it. Yeah, I haven't got a problem with it. It's a good song. It's a good
Well, let's
song.
get into night 9.
Yeah,
Uh, Last Man Standing was the opener. So I guess the first highlight for me though was Garage Land, which we know is a deep track. It's an outtake. It was put on the 2004 box set. Tour premiere. Obviously, they haven't ever done it before, so I know it's not really a premiere. I just know it's, you know, I know it's a fan favorite. It's a diehard favorite. I like John's speech, right? And this is where he talks about how he wanted to do 75 different songs in
yeah,
total for this residency. And I think at the time they were like at 50 something. And so then he also makes the line, this is, the one that only the diehards are going to know.
yeah.
I think it's nice for him to kind of acknowledge that he knows the diehards would know a song like that. And, so,
Yeah, and I think with that, I think like you say, when it was sort of Only Lonely earlier in the tour, it was. I think I do think that as a band, um, I think there is a sort of a want or a desire to play some of these songs and to break out these and play them. The beautiful thing about the residency, it allows you to do that. If this was UK tour across 10 different venues in the UK, okay, a couple of nights in London, but there would definitely be 2 or 3 song changes every night, but it would not be what there was on the residency. The
yeah,
band are comfortable. The band are there. They're comfortable. They're rehearsing, probably rehearsing different songs all the way through this 3-week time period, bouncing ideas around. They've got to feel excited by every night. They've got to feel like they're doing something different. They don't want to be playing the same sort of 25 songs every night. So it's got to be exciting for them. And I think, Garage Land. I mean, yeah, I mean, was it off? Is it an outtake for Crush? Sex Sales Crush around
yeah,
99,
yeah.
2000?
I think it came from the Sex Cells demos,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
maybe yeah, but it's the same time period,
Yeah.
really.
Same time period.
Um,
So again, I mean, they had so many songs with the
yeah,
delay of, what would have been Sex Sales in 99, finally in Crush. I mean, it's probably the most song. I mean, so many songs they've recorded or demoed for those albums.
yeah, and
It, it, it probably fits on any album, doesn't it? Really, I mean, it's a good song. It's fun. It's lively. Um, it's a shame. It's a shame it's left off. I mean, we've
I
said this
know.
on a couple of messages we've had on kind of Twitter and stuff before in the past. It's just and the box set sort of proves it, but the leftovers and the songs that don't sort of make it,
Yeah, and the whole, the na 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 na, that's such a cool pull-in hook.
yeah,
God, then like the way that John comes to you, we're just a garage band,
yeah.
I love it. And so
And
it's
it's going
nice
and
to
it's
hear.
going back to and it's going back to the roots, isn't it? It's going back to kind of like what where we've come from, and they were just that kind of
Yeah,
group of guys together, sort of probably practicing in their backyard or the garage or wherever it was, and they are just that kind of small band that have just I like the song. Yeah, it's again another song to come out on the residency that I mean, looking back on it now, I should have quit that job and just kind of gone on every night of the residency. I, because I'm not working. I'm not working that job now. So looking back on it now, if I had the time period, if I had the time again, I would have gone. I'm going to those shows, and I'll just not work for 2 or 3 weeks.
so missing night 3 was not worth the job. Uh,
Well, it's difficult, isn't it, to say that? Everything in life kind of has a
yeah,
bearing,
exactly.
but yeah,
Let's get into the circles. Really nothing to talk about here. Same memory. I'll be there for you. Pain. Sorry, night. But what I wanted to
yeah,
talk was Sleep When I'm Dead. So kind of like last year, they would do the acoustic set and then start I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. And that really hypes the crowd up. And that's exactly what they did here. Tico on the drums on this one was really good for some,
Mm.
obviously it's always good, but for some reason, like this one really stuck out the way that he played drums on it.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's a song that we've probably both seen, a lot of times over the years, and um, I think it's one of those ones that there are just certain performances where it just kind of clicks and the energy level's a bit higher, and this feels like it's one of those performances on that night. It just feels like there's just a bit of magic in the air as such, and it just feels like and Tico definitely drives that song, doesn't he?
oh,
That on it
absolutely.
is there. So if he is sort of on form and into that song, which he generally is, isn't he? He's so consistent. Um,
Who
yeah,
says?
it's good performance.
Who says? The only thing I wanted to mention about that is I think that had like a really good build up at the end with the audience and the band. Out of the other performances of that song, the encore was Always Wanted Prayer. We've already kind of talked about Always. I just wanted to say, like, I think the band outro on this one was phenomenal. Had a little
Yeah,
more soul, I think, to it compared to the first one. Um, just wanted to point that out.
yeah,
Let's get into night 10. Blood on Blood was the opener. So there's two songs I really want to talk about. You probably already know which ones. First one is the cover of I Don't Like Mondays, which we know that's one of John's favorite songs to play because he did it in what These Days tour, because it also ended up on the One One Night album with Bob Geldof. And
yeah. Well, he did it. He did it on the final night of the three shows at Wembley in '95, when
yeah,
they were revisiting and talking about Live Aid. So and they brought Bob Geldof on for that.
yeah.
I
And I
look like
think
Monday. I got to say, I mean, it was. I was sort of really surprised to see it, and to be back in London and to revisit that, and for Bob Geldof to come back out, which he did on that night, and sing that song with the band.
yeah,
I was like, wow, like I wouldn't have expected them to actually recreate that and revisit that song.
yeah,
But to do it in London, to do it, yeah, I mean, wow, that's actually the sort of thing I would have expected on the final night.
yeah, good
Yeah,
surprise.
it's to just again, just like randomly, sort of night 10. I guess Bob Geldof perhaps there was, it's worked out. Sort of maybe it was planned, and it was the night he could do it. But they do a really good job of that song,
Yeah,
don't they?
especially the way that John sings the verses, or even right in the bridge, down, down,
Yeah,
and like every time I hear that song, like I think of like what the song is actually about, right? About
yeah,
the school shooting and stuff, and
yeah.
that's like I don't know, it's yeah, it's kind of a heartbreaking to hear, but at the same time too, like
It is.
yeah. So and then right after they do that, I think they go into I Got the Girl, which
Yeah,
is very rare. They don't play that very often. And they did it in London, or yeah, London there on night 10. And I loved watching John play guitar, and kind of like Wild in the Streets, you could tell John's really happy because John
yeah.
wrote that song about his daughter Stephanie, who was 5 at the
That's
time.
right.
And
Yeah,
in this, because he does a speech, I think right after the guitar solo, he talks about how he wrote that when for his daughter Stephanie when she was 5, and now she's all grown up and she's getting ready for a fashion show somewhere.
yeah,
And so that was kind of cool to kind of see him take a break from the song and just kind of share his love and excitement for his daughter, and that's probably why we got the song, because she was doing that special thing that day. And hey,
probably
I'll
was.
take it. I'll take it.
I'd say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one that probably, I think I felt after the bounce tour, it probably got played, um, overplayed a little bit. I think I went to a few shows on bounce tour and then off back of Crush tour, and I think I probably was happy not to maybe have it for a couple of tours after then, but it's a fun song. It's a really really fun uplifting song, positive song. You know, when did he do it? Did he do it in America somewhere where she come on stage with him?
Yeah, that was in Los Angeles. this house tour. I believe. I think it was in
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Vegas or Los. It was somewhere on the West Coast.
yeah,
But yeah, I love the way that John does the second verse, especially when he sings "But I don't care what she wears," and then he
yeah,
goes through the second chorus. I got the
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I've got
and then
I've got three I've got three daughters, so kind of always sort of I remember hearing that song sort of just
yeah,
yeah, it's just one it's one of those ones. There are certain songs, aren't there? If you've got sort of family of your own, you can kind of again sort of tie some of the lyrics or just some of the meaning of the song into your own sort of family or your life. It means a bit more. But yeah,
yeah,
I'll take I Got the Girl. I think it's a you got to say it's a rarity at this point
yeah,
through the Circle tour.
yeah. And then
That's is that the biggest surprise of the? Is there a better song coming though? Is there
that's what I was just
these?
actually
Yeah.
there is, but I'm kind of far away from that right now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I want to say about I Got the Girl before we move on is you watch Richie's face, like you can tell Richie loves playing that song too, even though John,
Yeah. Okay.
if you watch him play the guitar, so he loves playing it. You can
Yeah.
tell, um, so love's the only rule. I put some notes here, but we kind of really talked about it. But the only thing I wanted to say, I guess, was John going through the crowd and that build up. And I love the way that John exits at the end. He leaves the stage, going down
Yeah.
the steps, woo, I love that. Um, the circle stage saw Bed of Roses, Diamond Ring, These Days acoustic again, Saturday Night. And then after the circle, this is kind of a weird spot for Happy. I think Happy Now is like perfect for as an opener.
Yeah.
Anywhere else on the set list, unless maybe it's an encore, it doesn't work. But they put Happy Now right after the acoustic set, and it was kind of different, I think, but still
Yeah.
cool.
A bit
Like
flatter. Yeah.
you see John on the stage, just kind of you don't he doesn't have a spotlight, but you see him walking around, and Richie starts the talk box
Mm.
thing, and John spraying his throat, drinking and stuff, drinking water, tea, whatever. Um, but yeah, I think, and I don't know if you notice, but if you watch a video of that, I think Richie makes a mistake on that guitar
Okay.
intro because then Tico messes up a little bit on the drums, but then they pick it right. This is how professional musicians they are. They get right,
Yeah.
they make it right, and then you can't even tell they made a mistake. But if you watch that closely, you can kind of tell Richie makes a mistake on the guitar, and Tico screws up for a second, but then
Mm.
they pick it right
It
back
probably,
up.
like I say, it probably is quite a weird spot for the song, isn't it? I mean, what did they open with that night? I can't remember. Was it Blood on Blood that night?
The
They
opener.
opened with that.
Let me see if I put the yeah. Blood was the opener.
Yeah, in a way, in a way, I would have switched those two round.
Yeah, it could have been one of those things too, where like John was just kind of experimenting, saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
I don't think they ever did that again." And I think maybe it's just a way of John thinking, "Hey, would this work?" And I'm not going to complain. I'd be happy to see Happy Now anywhere on the set list. But I think just as in John's point of view, I think it's only good to put it as a first song. As a
yeah, I think it works well there, doesn't it?
maybe you're kind of pushing it a little bit, but maybe even as an encore opener, So, but
Mm.
so now the big song that we wanted to talk about for this one. So the encore they did "Damned," "Wanted," "Prayer." So obviously we're going to talk about "Damned."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a
I mean,
short,
uh,
short. That's a good song to start an encore with too. I think.
yeah. I mean, I mean, these days, I mean, the quality of songs through that album is incredible. I mean, Damned. Is it a deeper cut? Obviously, it wasn't a single. I mean, it's a fantastic song. I really enjoy it. I love the guitar solo. I love the verses. I love the chorus. It's so rare to hear it.
Yeah,
It really is.
but it's so
I mean, it's it's so rare to hear that song.
yeah. Yeah, and I love watching John and the Maracas with that song too.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty cool. Um,
yeah.
and I
Yeah, the
think
shades of sort of keep the faith of him. Just
yeah,
seeing him with the maracas, kind of always, the song I'm expecting to go into is obviously keep the faith.
yeah,
But yeah, you use them for Damned as well. But
You know, it,
I love the vocal delivery just for the guitar solo. Yeah, I
that's
just
what I
I think
wanted to say too. I think if you know we talk about something to believe in vocals, but even with Damned, you compare 1996 vocals to 2010 vocals, both incredible.
yeah.
And 2010, he still sings it so well and so great, especially like you know the heart in your hand line, you know that leads into the chorus. I just love the way that he sings that, or like you just say, you know, into the guitar solo, which the guitar solo was also awesome as well. I thought Richie was like bang on that. It was amazing.
I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, again, of all the songs they could probably pull off of. I mean, you tend to hear these days, or maybe Diamond Ring. Sometimes Hey God. This ain't a love song kind of does get has been played a bit, but to pull out stuff like Something to Believe in
Yeah,
and Damned and you know some of these deeper tracks from these
yeah,
days. I think John really likes that album still. I remember sort of through lockdown he was doing a little kind of
yeah.
bit of reflection on some of the previous albums, and I think he felt that still held up really well these days, and that you know listening back on it, you know the quality of the songs is really strong. Um, yeah, I can't. So I've got no nothing other than good things to say about that whole album really, and that whole sort of time period for the band. So anything live from these days, Damned being absolutely no exception. You know, it's always a pleasure to hear. Um,
Absolutely.
just a shame that you know we don't hear them that often, to be honest. And there's a real you know, you listen to the album version. I mean, there's a real. He's kind of spitting those lyrics out. You know, there's a
Oh, I
real
know.
aggression. There's a real aggression in some of those lyrics. A real, you know, and it's not. You know that's and again that's just that production through some of those songs on these days, and just some of that different vocal delivery. But just
But that's the perfect word for it, aggression.
yeah,
You know, and I think that worked so well for what the song was and what the song was about. Having that
yeah,
aggression, anger, frustration, and the way that, and like I said, delivery is everything. When you're right and singing a song, it's the delivery and how you say those
yeah,
words. And John did it perfectly, and he
yeah.
performs it perfectly that same
He
way.
does.
It's gonna
and
be
that's and that's a tough one. I mean, you obviously can do your rehearsals and sound checks, everything. But this is a song that just hasn't been played
yeah,
hardly at all. You know,
like it needs to be
and
played a lot more.
yeah, and I appreciate they're professional musicians, and I appreciate they sort of know what they're doing. But to come out in front of a live audience of 20,000 people and just pull that track out and play it like they did,
And
um,
I've seen it written
incredible.
down on set lists too,
Oh
whether it
yeah.
was on the set list or as an audible, but then it doesn't get played. I've seen that a ton of times on the recent tours. I don't get it, but let's
Probably
get
another
into
tough one. It's probably another tough one vocally, isn't it? The chorus and
yeah,
just like I
probably
say, probably that
yeah,
is not an easy one to do.
yeah. Let's get into night 11 here.
Yeah,
Blown was the opener. First highlight, story of my life, which is the first time played on the
yeah,
tour. I think they only did it two or three times on that tour, to be honest. Um, I love the way that John sings the verses. So if you watch performances from the Have a Nice Day tour and Lost Highway tour of John singing it, he
yeah,
he has a lot more band interact. Like he'll sing to Richie, then he'll go sing to David during the bridge. He didn't really do that on this performance. He just kind of stood at his a little bit, but not much. And he just pretty much
mm,
you know, so that was kind of different to see play. I think it only gets, and maybe that's because of what we're used to. I think it only works for me seeing it live if, because it's like a Blood on Blood sequel part two. It's talking about
yeah,
brotherhood and them as a band. And so for me, if they do that live, I want to see him interact with Richie. I want to see him interact with David. And, you know, so
yeah,
no, my little
yeah.
side.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's I don't mind it. I quite like it on Have a Nice Day as an album. It's quite a nice song.
Yeah.
I think it worked well on the Have a Nice Day tour. I remember it. I remember enjoying it. Like I say, it's one of the songs here on the Residency that perhaps didn't feel like the band were as into it. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's still fun to see on the set list.
yeah, it's different, isn't it? I mean, the
Yeah,
problem is with Night 11, there's obviously one track in particular there that or part of a track in particular there that is just so unusual and so rare and random that it,
yeah,
for me, kind of just takes everything else away from it.
yeah.
But
Well,
we'll come to that, I'm sure.
yeah, the next highlight is "Lay Your Hands on Me," and this is the only
Yeah.
time of the 12 nights that John actually sings "Lay Your Hands on Me."
Yes.
Now, this is in a weird. You look at the set list, and they did Superman Tonight, "Lay Your Hands on Me," then Captain Crash. "Lay Your Hands on Me." That's kind of a weird spot to put it.
Yeah.
It worked, but I really loved it. I think because I watched so many different videos today of Richie singing it, I think it was kind of refreshing to see John sing it in something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But I really like how the drive to the band. I really love how they play. They play so well together. The outro really stood out for me too on this one because you know the whoa, whoa, look at me, I'm an amazing singer right now.
Yeah.
I love that part. I think that's what really stood out for me for that performance. But yeah, it was really nice to see John kind of sing that again. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, there's no reason why that couldn't have been an opener for a couple of these nights.
Yeah.
I'll tell you know, and I keep reminiscing, but going back to 1996 when they had the marching band intro for "Lay Your Hands on Me," it sounds so obvious listening to it back as to what song that was. But honestly, when the marching band came out on stage, we had no idea what was going on. We like
Yeah.
it's like what is going on here? It's just like, and then it probably took like 20 seconds or so for your brain to kind of register the music and the kind of and picking up sort of "Lay Your Hands on Me." But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure they could have recreated that in the arena as such, but yeah, I mean, hearing that as an opener, there'd have been nothing wrong with that on the Residency with John singing it. But I think you're right. I think hearing Richie sing it sort of every night or practically every night, I think by the time it gets to night 11, it is actually quite nice to hear John
Yeah.
delivering the vocal on there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Still,
Um,
still
the
enjoy that track.
Yeah, the circle stage. I think the circle stage set was probably the best circle stage set that they did the entire residency. They did
Yeah,
Hallelujah, Blood Money, Santa Fe, and The Last Night. Now, Me Lost Highway is my favorite album, so maybe this is why I'm saying it. But I
yeah,
think the circle stage was the best set of the entire time. So we talked about Hallelujah, we talked about Blood Money. Let's talk about Santa Fe. So Santa Fe is also a solo song that
yeah,
John would complete. And I remember waking up the next morning after this show and looking at the set list. Every time that they ever played, I'd wake up the next day and see the set list. And I remember I was like, fuck, they played Santa Fe,
I
and that's
know.
like one song that you don't like, you wouldn't believe that they would play because John usually would just do Blaze of Glory. You're lucky to get Blood Money. Then you're even luckier to get Santa Fe.
I
And we
know.
all know that the original Santa Fe is probably John's best vocal performance he has ever done on the
Yeah,
Young Guns album. So it was really cool to see him sing it a little differently, but still so well. And I love seeing the band's interpretation. It's like Blaze of Glory, like seeing Richie play the guitar on Blaze of Glory. He didn't write or record on
no,
those, but he makes it his own and just plays it so phenomenally well. So it's kind of cool to see the band come together. And another fact about this too. So when they do this circle stage set, John's by himself for Hallelujah. Then he brings out Bobby and David only to the circle,
yeah,
and then the whole band comes or for Santa Fe, and then the whole band comes out for the last night. But back to Santa Fe real quick. I love the accordion feel. I know I keep saying
yeah.
it in different songs, but I just love the way that David does the accordion. And then I love the way that John sings the verses for Santa Fe.
I mean, it's complete surprise, to be honest. I mean, I mean, it's one of those songs, and you kind of never. Why would you ever think you're going to hear that live?
Yeah,
It's never been done at a John Bon Jovi solo show. Um, why would I think we're going to break out Santa Fe in the Residency here? But I mean, just incredible. Again, one to look up on YouTube, and probably for anyone that hasn't seen it,
You got it.
I can't imagine you're ever going to see it again. So I mean, it's just they're not going to rehearse this very often. I mean, they must have done some work on it but it just sort of felt, it's kind of from the heart. It's just John doing something that he wants to do. Like I say, I don't think you get this without there being like a 12-night residency and the band just kind of letting loose and doing something a bit different for them as much as the crowd. He knows that there's going to be some of the same fans night after night coming back, spending money. And it's just one of those moments that you're just being given a gift, aren't you? I mean, it's just so rare and so wonderful to see that on there.
Absolutely.
Just incredible.
Yeah. Let's go into the last night. So for me, Lost Highway is my favorite album. So like I was so happy to watch this. And they didn't really play it much on the Lost Highway tour, and they really never really played much at all after that. Your dog really must like night as well.
Yeah. I might just have to get that and come straight back. Is that okay?
What's that?
I might just need to get the door very quickly.
Yeah. Do what you
gotta do. I'll be as quick as I can.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. See you later. Thank you. Sorry, Jerry, here I am.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm back.
We just got to get through night 11 and night 12 and we'll be done. But the last night is one of my favorites. I love it lyrically. And it was kind of nice to see the whole band do it acoustic. I love the guitar broken down in here and that a little cleaner than you can hear on the studio version, the accordion. I love the way that John sings the verses as well. And I really like the part, we're all looking out for answers. We're down here on our knees. Anybody wants is something to believe, and so on. I just love the way that he delivers those lines at this show.
I think it's, as I said to you before, I think it's an album. I'm not sure I appreciated it fully on its first release, to be honest. I'm not sure, but I think over the years, it's probably one of the ones I sort of revisit the most. And actually, as I'm looking at the O2 sort of opening night back in 2007, they played the last night in the second encore. It was Hallelujah the last night, and then Wanted. I remember really enjoying that. And I do like the song, and I think it's a friend of mine's not a fan of Lost Highway at all, really. But, it's one of the ones that I think is aged really well.
Yeah.
And that song's a great example of it. I mean, there's so many good songs on that album, to be honest.
Let's get into the encore they did When We Were Beautiful, Wanted It in Prayer. We'll talk about Beautiful real quick because that he did When We Were Beautiful quite a bit on the tour, and he did a few nights of the residency. But the only time they ever did as an encore for the residency was night 11. And I think it's a great encore song because it starts out, the band comes out, and it's just John for a second. I'm hanging, the world is cracked, the sky is torn, I'm hanging in, holding on. And then I love the way that the band just comes in after that verse, and then, they get into it. So I think it works as an encore song, especially for this night. So let's get into the this is the longest, and I've had a great chat. This has been the longest podcast episode I have ever done. But
there's a lot to cover, Jerry. There's a lot to cover in it. Yeah. I think when we both said about it, and actually, Do you know what? When you first said let's talk about the O2, in my head I was thinking, is there enough to talk about though? I think we've probably proved there is. I think we've probably proved there is actually.
It's funny because I try to keep these episodes 45 minutes.
Yeah,
And I asked you, I said, do you think 60 minutes, 90 minutes
I
at
know.
most is too much for you? Like, no, that'll be fine. And I did not realize that this was going to take about 2.5 hours just to talk
No.
about, which I'm glad we did though, because I've
Yeah, yeah,
talked about this
absolutely.
for a long time. So let's get into the last night. I know that you went to this show. Um,
Yeah.
before we kind of talk about highlights, overall, what was that night like for you as a fan? And
Yeah, as I say, I mean, having seen the band, a fair few times before, you've obviously got a level of expectation anyway. You know that London generally feels special. They normally pull out a few more songs. It tends to feel like it's a longer show in London. I knew it was the last night of the Residency, so again, I'm probably expecting that there might be some surprises and everything. As I said before, it's the first show my wife had gone to of Bon Jovi, so I'm taking somebody that's never experienced Bon Jovi live before, which is
yeah,
good. Um, the it was absolutely rammed. There wasn't a spare seat. The atmosphere was phenomenal. Kid Rock were great. They were to get the crowd going, and the energy they brought to the stage was fantastic. They finished their set, and you kind of think. I actually remember thinking, Bon Jovi needs to be good. They need to come out
yeah,
this needs, the crowd is so high and so kind of energized that like this has to be really good now. And that's the bar Kid Rock set. Um, I'm not a particular fan. I haven't really got any of their music particularly, but they really did set the bar high. Um, and Bon Jovi didn't disappoint at all.
yeah,
From the opener Blood on Blood to the encores and the close.
yeah.
Um,
What was the highlight of the show for you? Like your number one highlight? And we're
it's
going to talk
probably
through the set list here in a set, or my highlights too. So, but for you, what was your number one highlight?
probably similar to yours. I think it was the sign requests in the encore.
Oh boy, do I have some
I've not
stuff to
really
say.
seen that, but it was sign requests. It was these days, and it's hard letting you go.
Yeah,
They were
and I
both
want to.
they were both sign requests. They were both. It felt like they were spontaneous. It felt like they were definitely not planned. Especially, it's hard letting you go.
Yeah,
But and there were a few songs during the main set as well, which I'd not heard before or I'd not heard for a long time. But the energy level for the band was electric.
yeah,
They were just having an absolute ball. And that's what I say was different from any other time I've seen them. Is they were so kind of relaxed and it was just effortless. It was
yeah.
just and I think that is a result of that residency. They're in the same location. They've had fun doing it. This is the final night. They can actually just have a bit of a party now. They can just have and I didn't want it to end. It was just like
I don't
it
know.
could have gone on. It could have gone on another sort of half an hour or an hour. It would have been fine.
What it wasn't like a 3 hour, at least a 3 hour set, right? Because I think didn't they almost go
I
past three?
think it, yeah, I think it was close to. I mean, they played 28 songs, so yeah, I think it was 2 hours 45 minutes. It was close
Yeah,
to 3 hours. I mean,
yeah.
just unbelievable to be honest.
Well, so they opened up with Blood, which for you that must have been incredible. You know, your last night there, and were you kind of keeping an eye on the set list every night at that
Yeah,
time? Okay, so
yeah, yeah. I knew there was a possibility that Blood would be an opener.
yeah, and then Richie goes,
Uh,
yeah,
Although I kind of knew, I knew they did it the night before, so I sort of thought maybe it would be something different. But I was happy with it as an opener. I mean, John coming out on his guitar, and
yeah,
um, yeah, it was just instantly the sound of everything, just all the instruments together, the guitars, the drums, everything sounded like every was the mix, the production was perfect. There was no kind of like it took a couple of songs for it took a couple of songs for the sound to be right, or there was and maybe, like I say, that's just the experience I've had there for a few nights already. But
Uh,
from the first moment, it just sounded phenomenal.
yeah. I
Really,
guess
really.
the first highlight for me, just from watching online, nothing comparable to you from being there, but Blaze of Glory. First time played on that tour. And I said
Yeah,
this a bit ago, but it's I love watching Richie play the guitar solo on it because he does it incredibly well. And Tico on the drums before the final chorus. Every time I hear that Blaze of Glory and the band performs, if you ever pay attention, especially Madison Square Garden 2008 of Dry County,
yeah,
I'm sorry, Blaze of Glory. You
yeah,
know how always starts the boom, 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 boom.
yeah,
It's actually, and I'm not a drummer, so I don't know this for sure, but if you pay attention, if you compare the always intro and the intro to the final chorus, right after, when John sings night after night after night, I
yeah.
don't,
So,
I keeps Dry County stuck in my head right now. Never mind. But the last chorus, right before Tico does a drum thing,
yeah. Dry County is not too different either,
I'm thinking,
actually.
I'm thinking of
Yours,
Dry
yours,
County.
I think,
You know,
no, I think
my,
Blaze of Glory does do it. Blaze of Glory does. There is that same
yeah,
intro in Blaze
and
of Glory.
it's in
Yeah,
Dry County as well, and I'm
yeah,
confusing.
yes,
Yeah, so I'm
yeah,
glad you
yeah,
know what I'm talking about here because my mind is starting to go tired. Um, So I thought that's cool. There's different, Dry County and Blaze of Glory has that same always intro, just a
yeah.
different tempo, a little bit.
That's right.
Bad
It was
Medicine,
definitely Well, this was definitely a highlight for me. I mean,
yeah,
there's two things that kind of we went from Blood on Blood. He played Born to Follow, Bad Name, Born to Be My Baby, Lost Highway. In These Arms, I really enjoyed. I love that. I love that song live. I really enjoy it.
I'm surprised David didn't get to sing that one at all because they did In These Arms quite a bit on that resident.
Yeah,
And I'm
but
surprised just to change it up, David never got to sing.
yeah. We then went into When We Were Beautiful after that. I can remember John opening that song up, and he said something like, "Oh, I'm going to play something now from the Circle, and you know, uh, you know, really listen to the lyric, really listen to the words. There's a lot of meaning in it." And he was just trying to get the crowd really into sort of listening to the song, and probably not maybe having a toilet break or anything. But yeah, to be honest, I mean, I really enjoyed that live. I thought that kind of sounded all right. And then when the sort of outro and that song sort of broke away, and just how that sort of ended. As soon as they went into Blaze of Glory, it was like, the whole the crowd reaction was incredible. It was just like, yeah, he's John's almost kind of got everyone to listen to When We're Beautiful. Everyone's focused on it, and then suddenly you go into probably it probably is one of his most recognisable songs, isn't it? To a lot of people, Blaze of Glory.
Yeah,
A lot of fans around me think it's a Bon Jovi song and not a John Bon Jovi song, and obviously you have to correct people, don't you?
yeah, no, that's John.
Need to educate people,
Yeah.
but
It's like when people refer Bon Jovi as to him.
yeah,
Bon Jovi's a band.
that's it.
But
But yeah, that was definitely a highlight.
my
I think we
next,
had.
oh, go
Go
ahead.
on. I was going to say we had Captain Crash, I was Sleeping on Dead, We Got It Going On, Bad Medicine. I mean
That's one of my highlights I wanted to talk about.
but that whole section's really high tempo. It was just
Yeah.
really quite. The energy level was really high. From Captain Crash to Sleeping on Dead, We Got It Going On, Bad Medicine had old time rock and roll. Um,
And that's
Kid
what
Rock came out for that.
I just want. That's what I wanted to talk about. I thought that was really cool because I totally forgot that Kid Rock came out for that, and I'm watching the performance for the final night, and then all of a sudden, like John brought out special guest. I'm like, who? And I was Kid Rock because he also
Yeah.
opened up multiple nights. So, how'd the crowd react to that?
Yeah, I think it was really good. I mean, like I said, I think the performance they did as an as an opening set was incredible. So I think I think him coming back out on stage was well received. Um, he had such good energy, Kid Rock. You know, he's like he was so sort of like just that energy level was so high, and it was to get the crowd going was really, 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 really good. And like I say, when I said I don't know, it just felt like sort of Bon Jovi with that kind of had to sort of up their sort of performance.
Yeah.
And you sort of notice that a little bit during that song as well. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight.
And then I'll let you go through the set list, and I'll point out my highlights for it. I think
Yeah,
my next highlight is like the circle stage highlight.
yeah,
What was after Batman? Lay Your Hands on Me was after that, right?
yeah. So Richie sung "Lay Hands on Me."
Okay.
Um, yeah, after Bad Medicine, old time rock and roll. Yeah, then "Lay Your Hands on Me" with Richie.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
I remember enjoying that. I remember enjoying that. It was good. Good
and then
tune,
you
with
get the
Richie.
circle set, which is Roses, Diamond Ring, I'll Be There For You on Saturday Night, which is we've talked about all those. And I think for the final night, I think they could have done better with different songs for that. For the final night, like bring out some more deep tracks, kind of like what they do with like Blood Money and Santa Fe, like those kind of deep tracks. Uh,
Yeah,
Also pretty cool. I think the next highlight that you and I both want to talk about is what they played after the
yeah.
set,
Wow.
which is kind of, like we say that right now that we're so surprised, but probably back then you weren't as surprised because Bullet wasn't play. Here's a spoiler alert, everyone. Bullet was the next song that was played. We got to keep in mind this was also the Circle tour, and so Bullet was from the Circle, but
Yeah,
Bullet wasn't played as heavy as I thought it was going to be then. You know, so but I thought that was pretty cool to have after the acoustic set. I loved Richie on watching him play the guitar on it. I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah.
What was that? What was the audience like when they did that?
Uh, I mean, again, it's one of it's just one of those songs that actually, again, it took me completely by surprise. I think you hear the opening sort of bars to the song and just kind of just the guitar it took a few seconds just to register what it was, to be honest, because it was probably I'd say it's very unexpected. I, I I know there were some people sort of around where I was sat that were sort of looking at each other, sort of not knowing the song. But we were sat with quite a few diehard fans that were just going absolutely mad for it.
Yeah,
And for me, I mean, again, I was sort of talking to my wife at the time, and it's like, well, this is this is a rare song. We don't get we're not going to get this all the time. So to enjoy that, I think it came across really well live. I think the band put a lot of energy into it. I'm surprised it wasn't played a bit more. When you look at how much Working Man was played, I think there's
yeah,
no reason why Bullet couldn't have been played more.
yeah. I agree.
So
And
yeah, I mean it's difficult because then obviously they follow Bullet with "It's My Life," so you're playing sort of a deeper album track which not everyone's going to know, and then suddenly you go into "It's My Life" and the
yeah,
crowd are just go absolutely bonkers. So
yeah,
when you say sort of how well received was Bullet, well, not as well received as "It's My Life," but that's like an obvious statement, isn't it? Because there's
yeah.
just so many casuals that are going to know it. So
That's like Prayer versus Santa Fe. you
yeah,
know?
what are you going to take? So
Yeah,
um, but I was happy to hear it. For me, it's like another song that I'm probably never going to hear live. Before or after that show. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, following it immediately with "It's My Life," obviously the crowd are just like, it's just another level, isn't it? So as a set close, "It's My Life." "Who Says You Can't Go Home," and "Keep the Faith" is probably fairly standard.
And then that was
There was
that.
good crowd participation again with "Who Says." I lost count how many all rights there were in it. I think there's quite a few all
Only a
rights.
million and three.
Yeah, I
I
think.
like did you leave that song wondering if it was all right? Cheesy joke. Okay. But so let's
Yeah,
get
no, no,
into
yeah, I
let's get into the deep, or not deep, but like the probably the best part of the whole show. So
yeah,
obviously, with this being the final night, going into the encore, you got to go big here. And when you, so they did Have a Nice Day, Wanted, These Days, It's Hard Letting You Go, I Love This Town, and Prayer. 5 songs. And originally on the set list, it was only Have a Nice Day, Wanted, and Prayer. They did
yeah,
These Days and It's Hard Letting You Go by fan requests. And you can watch
yeah,
the footage on YouTube. Um, so we'll start off with These Days. Was it These Days? Yes, it was These Days because
yeah,
John started to sing because they did Have a Nice Day, Wanted, and then they were going to do Prayer. And John started to sing, we got to. Oh,
yeah.
and all of a
And
sudden,
then he stopped
oh,
this. Yeah,
and he's like, and then he asked the crowd, "Who wants to hear these days?" Like you heard, and you were there.
yeah.
I mean, that was
He probably heard my voice because I mean I must have screamed so loudly when he said he was here these days, and yeah, I mean it's just incredible because at
yeah,
that point I think when you don't quite know you hear sort of obviously Have a Nice Day, What If They're Alive, and then when he starts singing Living on a Prayer, you kind of think, okay, fair enough, and maybe they'll come back out for one more song, but at
yeah,
that point I'd probably given up hope of hearing like These Days or anything more kind of rare as such. Having already done sort of Bed of Roses and I'll Be There for You sort of on the small stage, I probably didn't think we'd get Always as well. So I kind of had almost sort of thought, oh, okay, maybe that's it. Um, yeah, these I love These Days. As I said before, the
yeah.
album, the song.
And this is
So
just
hearing
to
that,
be, and just to be, I'm sorry, just to be clear too for people listening. This is different than the acoustic. So they did twice acoustic,
yeah,
but this time they did the electric version, right?
yes,
Yeah,
and
original.
the encore for me is the perfect place for it. I think it just fits
Exactly.
so well in that encore.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant. Um, the crowd participation was great with the song. I think it always is. I think especially sort of in Europe, I think the whole album was really really big. So I think he always gets such a good crowd involvement with the song.
yeah.
Again, it's quite a tough one for him to sing, but here the performance was really good. His vocal was strong.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's
yeah, it's always a pleasure to hear that song. To be honest, live, I love These
yeah.
Days. So
And it's a shame we don't get it much often anymore. It's a gem.
no,
But let's talk. So the next one they did, it was
oh,
my and God bless the fan that held up that
oh,
sign.
yeah,
If,
right, yeah,
because we wouldn't have seen this. Actually, I don't think they really didn't do this song live very much. And so,
no,
but thankful to that fan that held up the sign, we call it,
oh,
it's hard letting you go.
yeah. We
I
should
would
find
think,
out. We should find out who that is,
yeah,
and do it and send a thank you message to that fan.
send a thank you card. Um,
Yeah,
but John was trying to remember. So there's pro footage of this, which is awesome. We got pro footage
yeah.
of it. It's on YouTube, and John's trying to remember. And he's trying to figure out.
How's it go again? Yeah,
He's
so,
trying to figure out the chords and the
yeah,
lyrics, and then he eventually it comes muscle memory. But it's Hard Letting You Go is probably my first of top three performances of the O2. I just love, and
yeah,
I think it's a song that John could still do, especially as like a B stage song. Um,
yeah,
I love, John and Richie here, especially when like they're singing the whoa, um,
yeah,
I just, I don't know. It's so good. It's one of those songs that the band could take a break and John could do it acoustic. Um, and I
it
like that
was.
whole like, and like right before the woes, I think like he's
Yeah,
trying to remember what chord, and he's like E minor, and then he,
yeah.
so I love seeing that kind of stuff, like off the cuff. How do I play this kind of thing?
Such a Was it written for Moonlight and Valentino? The
Yeah,
song, I think,
yep, yeah. John
um,
on the set.
by, by by John, and then pulled onto These Days. I
Yeah,
mean, it was so bizarre and so unexpected. I mean, and almost if you look at the encore, to play it directly after these days, it almost like the two songs need to go the other way around. It's almost like these days is really, really sort of high crowd participation, and then it's hard letting you go. I'm not complaining because I mean it's just incredible to hear it, but it was such a shock. It was like, and we could see the I think we could see the crowd. I think we could see the sign on the big screen to one side, and it's like no way. He's just like it's just like there's no way he's going to do it. And actually, I thought we might get like the first verse, and we might get a bit of
Yeah,
it, and then he might, but
we did the whole
to
thing.
to get the whole song
Yeah,
and delivered as well as what it was just
it,
incredible,
it,
absolutely incredible.
and,
And
and just think of this, my friend. You got to see that live. Probably
yeah,
the only time we'll ever get to see that song again, and you got to see it. You know,
well, absolutely. They did play that at Milton Keynes in '96, but I would never have believed I would hear that again live.
yeah,
No way. It's
yeah.
and to have all those, and there was quite a few signs at the front of that stage with people kind of wanting songs. To
Do you
pick
remember?
that song out,
Yeah.
it's just bizarre.
Do you remember the other requests?
I can't because
Prayer,
he,
It's
he
My
only
Life,
he only he
Standing.
only with the camera only sort of honed in on sort of these days and then letting you go. These two people, like I think, stood like quite close to each other, at the front, and all sat down at the front from memory. But I can't. No, I don't remember seeing or there being a tease of anything else. But I just think John, at the stage, looking out and seeing that song, it's quite ballsy. It's quite, literally, you have a nice day, want They're Alive these days, and now I'm going to launch into a song I've not sung for
Yeah,
years.
but
I
he
don't
did.
even remember,
Yeah,
and it was that spontaneous that it just
yeah,
made it one of those moments that just sticks with you.
yeah. And I think too, with it being the last night of a 12-night residency, I think, you know what? This is going to make the show even more special. Fans are
Yeah,
going to appreciate it. Let's just do it, you know?
yeah,
And then they go into I Love This Town. And I think for the final night, you have to do that song, I think,
yeah,
to show the appreciation for London and stuff. Um, was there anything you
and it
wanted to?
worked. And it worked really well. It did work really well, to be honest.
I don't think that was. I don't think that was on the original set list either. I think John just decided to do that because I think on
Yeah,
the traditional set list, I think it was Have a Nice Day, um,
Wanted and Prayer.
Wanted and Prayer, and then obviously the sign request, and then I Love This Town was just
Excuse me.
added, which is great. And then I think let's talk about the big boy here, Living on a Prayer. Um, Obviously, I would have kind of liked to have seen Prayer as the final encore and then do one more encore. Because I think if they would have left the stage, if they did Have a Nice Day, Wanted, the two stage requests, and then Prayer, and then leave, let the crowd scream for more, come up, and I Love This Town, and then finish the show. Obviously, that's not what happened, but
Yeah, I kind of think they pushed the time on this. To be honest, I remember we had like Train. We had I remember sort of looking. I remember looking at the watch, thinking this is overrunning like massively. And whether they sort of like just they fit those two songs in, and they just kind of had to just carry on and close the show. I mean the encore, like I say, I've seen them so much as you have. I've seen them, a lot of times over the years. There's been some truly sort of fantastic encores. Again, Hyde Park 2011 was absolutely incredible, but it was obviously planned to be kind of encore 1, 2, and 3, and maybe it did go on a bit longer, but this just felt like it was
yeah,
so spontaneous with these days, and it's hard letting you go. Slipping into that encore that I think it just kind of changed the structure completely as to what it was.
yeah.
Um,
And I think with
but
Prayer, that performance, it's more of a celebratory. Every night it's a
yeah,
celebratory because of how big it was. But I think the final night, final song, it seemed more celebratory. John's going through the circle. shaking, smacking fans' hands and stuff. I say smacking in a bad term, but just
Yeah, yeah,
kind of like a high five, and that's the term I'm trying to say, high five, and
yeah,
it was so electric. Like even just watching, and you were there, so you know how it feels. But it's electric. It's electrifying to see that audience to band so cohesive and everyone's singing along and just you sense that in the videos too,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely came away from that. I definitely came away from that show thinking, I've witnessed something. If you knew you've kind of witnessed something that was just that bit more special. I think it's those sort of spontaneous moments that just stay with you. And say if there's a couple of songs, and again, Blaze of Glory was fantastic. Say Blood and Blood as an opener, and I know it might not look the most exciting kind of acoustic section, but actually, like all the songs were delivered really well.
Oh yeah.
They're all just sung brilliantly. And like I say, Bullet was a surprise. It was like a couple of seconds to register actually what song it is, and that's really rare. And then like I say, these days was great, but Letting You Go would definitely be the highlight.
Yeah.
Definitely be my highlight.
Yeah.
Just so special hearing that.
Something that
Um,
you can brag about your entire
yeah,
life. You can put it in your obituary.
that's right.
Okay, okay. But no, but really, man, I am just jealous that you got to see that, and just this has been a great chat. With this being my 100th episode, my longest episode too. But you know what? I'm
Yeah,
really glad that we finally got a chance to do this. I appreciate you taking 3 hours out of your day to do this episode and do it with such excitement and enthusiasm the entire time. I just want to say I appreciate you very much for doing this.
Jerry, I appreciate your time too. It's been say a few months trying to get this sort of the time to do this with each other, and the time difference and everything else that goes with it. But I love this band, and I know you do deeply as well. And I think to come on and kind of share memories and experiences is really special. And I appreciate the work you do to put these together. And being part of it is my pleasure. So yeah, I appreciate you thanking me for doing it, but it's my pleasure to do it.
I
Happy to
appreciate
be
it.
here.
And you got to come on sometime and do another episode. Won't be 3 hours. Well, maybe.
No, no, but of course, yeah, I definitely will do. Well, there's obviously lots of things happening in 2024 with the
Yeah.
band, so I'm sure there'll be lots of
Yeah.
topics to cover off and look at. So I'll be happy to do that.
So, all right, but I'm going to stay on it. I'm going to end the recording. But
Awesome.
again, thank you again for being such a great guest on the podcast. I really had a good time chatting with you. Okay.
Thanks, Jerry. My pleasure.